Coming to you from Blue Crew Studio in Temecula, California, it's the Whiskey Throttle Show. Taking you inside the lives of the legends and leaders in moto and action sports. Today's guest is brought to you by Yamaha. Yamaha is the industry leader in two-wheeled fun and performance. Celebrating 50 years of YZ in 2024, the Blue Crew is still dominating shootouts and competitions. Yamaha, revs your heart. SKDA is the leader in motorcycle graphics. Driven by a combined passion for art and motorcycles, SKDA has become a global leader in the off-road motorcycle space. Their graphics can be spotted from a mile away with a unique design that blends speed and creativity. SKDA, search and supply of true art within moto. Troy Lee Designs, built for the world's fastest racers. TLD blends elite level protection with industry-leading style and performance. Moto, bike, helmet paint, casual wear, whatever your passion, Troy Lee Designs is waiting for you on the next level. Nihilo Concepts, enhance your riding experience with superior products like the start-stop conversion kit, fuel petcocks, frame grip tape, lever grip, grip donuts, secondary on switch, billet foot pegs, billet throttle housings, and so much more. Nihilo Concepts produces exceptional products, all of which are made right here in America. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us here on the Whiskey Throttle Show. I'm your host, David Pingree, and joined today by a buddy of mine, motocross legend Nick Way. Nicky, stoked to have you on the show, dude. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me over, man. You've been moguling up on the media game here for a while. I haven't been to your studio.
Well, what do you think?
Well, it's awesome.
It's the Blue Crew studio, buddy.
And to be fair, I don't live too far. I can't believe we don't cross paths more often.
I know. Even at the tracks, I don't see you. I know you're at the pro tracks is probably the deal, huh?
Well, I'm at the outdoor
I see
tracks.
your wife with your kids more than I see you.
Yeah, true. Well, I am working a lot, but I strategically have my wife take my sons sometimes because
she's probably harder on him than you are.
No, I don't know if that's true. It's just difficult sport, so it's probably important for them to it be their idea. I'm not trying to make it too easy for them.
Well, and you and I have been having that conversation here before we started recording, just about what's going on with your son. And shoot, let's talk about that. Let's start with that. I think it's wild when I see. I love the sport, right? But you and I, since the time we were little, it's all we knew, right, for a long, long time. So I don't know if I had kids, like boys, I have girls, I didn't have to make the decision. But if I had boys, I don't know if I would have wanted to start over with them again and square one, like all those long days at the track. And that's where here you are.
I don't know if I really had a choice, to be fair.
He just loved it.
Well, I would think, I'd stopped racing in 15. He was born in 09, so he's 6. So, it's like we're in it. Mm-hmm. So, instead of having a shop, I had, multiple storage bins and then had a mechanic working out of our third car garage. So, we were, in there. So,
Did you try to kind of actively discourage him ever?
Not really. But, obviously, even with your daughters, you teach them to ride. You want to teach them, stuff that, right? So, I'm like, oh, yeah, teach them how to ride a PW. So I'm always like, oh, I teach them how to ride a PW. See where this goes. And this escalates quickly. That's always. But I'm getting photos when I'm at the races of her having the PW in the back of the Denali, and he just smiling out the back, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
But you're having fun. He's 15 now. I can't believe he's already that old.
Yeah, it goes quick. It's just same as you know. We have senior daughters.
It's crazy. Yeah. I'm turning 50 this year. I'm tripping out. Is there anything as you're kind of navigating him along, are you kind of is there any pitfalls you're really trying to keep him away from, or things that you wish you'd have done differently that you're making sure he does or doesn't do?
It's just so different now than when I was growing up, for sure. Sometimes I lose perspective because I'm just trying to do the best that I can for my family in the moment, as we all are. So I had to we're trying to I guess plan his future with some manufacturer contracts, and I had to write down what I did at certain ages, what classes I rode, to give me some perspective of this is what I did. And then so it's going pretty quickly, but he loves it. I'm here to support him as a dad. But yeah, definitely I kind of reverse engineer some ways that like maybe some things that held me back, of like things that I thought of, or some different stuff, like, you know, days where I'm not from here. So, you know, I go to Paris, right? Or I go to Glen Helen. I'm like, conditions aren't great typically, to be fair. And I'm like, get me out of here. Like, get me out of here. And they're like, can we camp? Why can't we bring the motor home? We should spend the night here. I'm like, dude, I can't think of a worse place to be than Glen Helen.
Nothing sounds worse to be than that.
Nothing sounds better. Nothing sounds worse than spending the night at Glen Helen. But you're like, yo, let's get the motor home. I'm going to dig holes over here. It's going to be sweet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, fair enough. Maybe my perspective of this all held me back some, because fair enough, son.
Isn't that interesting? I just was thinking, like, I didn't have anybody tell me when they would water the track at a practice day. I would just go, I'll wait till the mud's gone, you know, and I'd sit there and wait. No one made me go ride the mud. I was terrible in the mud my whole career. It held me back a lot. So if I had a kid racing, I would go, no, listen, it's raining. We're going riding. It's going to be a disaster and sloppy, but this is part of the deal. You got to learn it.
Yeah.
Anything like that where you're like, you kind of the things you did wrong, whatever that might have been, you're kind of instilling in them.
It's kind of the opposite, because I grew up in a place that was always wet. Right? So it's like, you know, you can't even ride 3 or 4 months out of the year. So then the other, like, 1 month on either side of, you know, fall and spring, it's pretty muddy on the days that it's warm enough to where it's not frozen. So, like, you know, I'd be like, yes, look at this rut. It's like 4 feet deep. I'm on a 60, right? So things like that was always something that I enjoyed, because that's just what I had available to me.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like the long burnout days where the afternoons are windy and it's super hard packed, those are days where I'm like, I'm going to maybe wait till next time it has more grip. So, you know, those are the type of things that would have helped me, is like get a little bit better in the hard pack stuff. But for him, we still thankfully have a place in Michigan, so I try to get the most out of the conditions we can there. Because certainly, like you said, it's good for me to hear your perspective, as like, because really it's the skill set of being able to do it, but ultimately your lack of experience in the wet made you think you couldn't do it, which is maybe worse.
Probably.
Yeah.
It got in my head for sure.
Yeah.
And you can overcome it. Andrew Short used to be the same way. We used to laugh when we were teammates one year. And he goes, I'm just trying to get my attitude right. You know, mud's my bud. And like, that was his little saying, mud's my bud. And he would try to just have a good attitude about it. Because I would be like, well, it's raining. I'll be lucky to score any points today. I mean, that's how I was. I hated the mud. I knew I sucked in it. And I was all messed up. Where he was like really trying to get through it. And he did. Freaking dude, you know, went on to be great in the mud.
Yep.
Anyway, interesting. What about your younger boy?
Yeah, he's in Marietta. Eric Carter's the coach of the Mesa mountain bike team.
All right.
So it's the high school team. Well, he's in middle school. So they like bring him along, and he's stoked to be a part of it, which is awesome, because we have the trails behind the house.
Yeah.
And to be fair, there's a lot of kids in our neighborhood that ride bikes. So he has a whole squad. And I mean, even last night I'm looking on Live 360, because his training program, we went to Paula for a race for Vincent, and then we got home, and then he had 2.5 hours to do. So he rides from our house over to the top of the plateau and then back home on the sidewalk on his mountain bike. And I'm like watching him on Live 360. I'm like, look at you go, boy. And I called him. I'm like, hey, dude, it's almost dark. Get off that mountain. You're going to get ate by a mountain lion, bro. So he's like pretty happy-go-lucky, and he's pretty like looking for a good time.
Yeah.
So that sport is super good for him, because it's obviously difficult. So
Yeah.
yeah.
He's always just got a big old smile.
Yeah, he's
every picture I see of that kid, I'm like, I like this kid.
Yeah, he's
I
stoked.
know him.
I didn't even see him at the races all day yesterday. But
just off.
Well, yeah, he's in
buzzing,
somebody else's pits trying to get some food that we don't have at home, some kind of candy bar or something.
And your daughter, she's super high-level gymnastics. How old is she? What's the story there? Is that like turning into, I guess we chatted a little bit about the college dilemma.
Yeah, she's 17 and a senior, and then her last year of gymnastics within the Sega group that's here in Temecula would be this year, and then she's hoping to get some help to do it in the collegiate level. But she's had injuries the last couple years. I guess 2 years ago she won the nationals in one of the events. So she's trending to reach her goals. It's just she's been kind of held back, and then just tough being a parent of those type of sports, because it's obviously like a lot of time too. And then she's a teenager, and she's only ever gone to school, even since middle school, to lunch. And then now she goes through lunch. And so like being her age, she's like super pumped to be socializing, because she's missed out on so much over the years.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of hurdles to get over. But again, it's also a very demanding sport, and her discipline is really good for having to go 6 days a week.
Yeah, you guys seem like you're fully committed to that.
Yeah, we're everywhere.
Yeah. Is there any hesitation, like some of the conversations we have? I mean, my daughter's not 100% sure what she wants to do, but I even have reservations about her going to college, like seeing what's going on in colleges these days. Like, used to be just partying. That's all you had to really worry about. Now, you got to make sure she doesn't come home thinking she's a cat shitting in a cat box. I mean, like, it's insane, like, the things that are happening on these colleges.
Yeah, totally. I've had some close friends that are, like, own tracks say the same thing about their daughters who came home. They're just like, their views had changed so much, and it was really shocked them. But again, obviously a college experience can be cool, but again, it's obviously our job as parents to have their principles instilled so they don't necessarily, lose their North Star.
Right, and that's what I get told by people. Wow, if you raised them right, and it's like, yeah, I know some really solid families whose kids went off the grid like crazy. Yeah. Your friends are a big influence.
Yeah,
so.
I get it.
Anyway, all right. Well, seems like you're kicking ass as a dad.
I'm trying.
That's great to see, man. Like, I think maybe a lot of people don't place the emphasis and the value on that they should. And so, kudos, man.
Yeah,
you're killing it.
I mean, probably the same to you. It's like for me, I had Ava when I was 26, 27, 26. So we were pretty young.
Yeah.
So like I'm like.
Is Nicole same age as you?
Nicole's 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
So she was 24, I was 26. So I was like right in there of like when I was doing my best riding. Mm-hmm. And it like really changed my perspective on everything.
So back in our day, maybe about that window it started to shift a little bit, but at least mid 90s and earlier, having a girlfriend even or getting married was like kiss of death for your career. Yeah. Oh, don't get married. That, you need to be single and just stay focused on this. And then it shifted, right? And around 2000-ish, I guess, guys were having families, getting married. They were going to the races in a motorhome. Like, a lot of that changed. How did it change you? I'm curious, because you just said it really impacted the way you viewed everything. Some people would say, oh, you get too cautious because now I have a kid. This is what's important, right? But was it that way?
For me, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, I grew up in a super small town in the Midwest, right? So like family and college football is everything, right? So, my wife grew up in DeWitt also. So it's like very common to have kids at that age. Mm-hmm. And for her, she like went to cosmetology school and then kind of was just supporting me in California because she moved in with me after we got married and then was just supporting me. And so I think like she felt like her purpose was to have a family, which fair enough. Like that's very important to me too. It's just for me personally, who maybe I would say that I'm a overthinker for sure. It definitely like affected my drive to probably like take the risks that it took to reach my full potential, to be fair. But I see the Ken Roxons and so many people like Eli, they're really not affected at all.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yep.
So, but you say it did kind of
100%, but it's also like in a time where, I think for me, it was like just my wife and I in California because all of our family still lives in DeWitt.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, a bit difficult.
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. Okay. Hey, get over to Whiskey Throttle Media, guys. If you haven't, whiskeythrottlemedia.com. We got all kinds of stuff. Moto, off-road content, dual sport content. We got a really cool free ride feature. Lots of neat stuff. Also new merch. You can go to whiskeythrottlemerch.com and buy that or find it on our website. And if you need coaching, go to elevateactionsports.com or Elevate Motocross on Instagram and get yourself hooked up with a really cool training package online. Langston, Rhino, Fro, myself, Johnny Campbell, all involved in that. Very cool. Check it out. And our guest story is brought to you by Yamaha. Let's get to it. You're a Michigan Mafia guy, man. Always. DeWitt, right?
That's where I lived most of my parents are still there. My wife's parents are still there. All of my brother and sister are still in the area. So, yeah.
Is that Dutch, DeWitt? Isn't there a lot of Dutch in that area?
That's probably more like
Holland.
Yeah, Holland area. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
My in-laws' parents are there, so we've visited up there before, and everybody's a Vander something or whatever.
Yeah, down there near Redbud. There's actually a track called Dutch Sport Park just north.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay. So what is DeWitt area? Is it just more farmland? What's it like there?
It's just farmland, but essentially it's like just north of Lansing, which was a kind of a industrial hub for the GM and Ford, where they made a bunch of, they made like Cadillac CTS, a bunch of stuff there in Lansing. So it's just kind of a suburb of the industrial city.
Okay.
It really hasn't changed since I was a kid, to be fair, because honestly, the industry has been taken away from Detroit and Lansing so much that there's not as much opportunity as there was, I guess, when I was a kid. So it really hasn't evolved. So it's been like very, very, very similar.
It's kind of nice though, right?
It's
like
kind of cool, but I'm like, well, here, like, I feel like where I live, it's pretty built out. But then now there's a new Home Depot since the summertime. Like there's just stuff.
Yeah.
So
they won't leave a patch of dirt uncovered, right? Like they're gonna fill it. Where is it on the mitten?
Right in the center.
Right dead nuts.
Right dead nuts.
All right.
Like 2 hours northeast of Red Bud.
Okay.
But there's like in that area, there's like a ton of local club motocross tracks that basically put on races. And so that was like our district. So there was a lot of good riders.
It seems like Michigan's always turned out good riders. Like my era, I remember like Eric McClear.
Yeah.
Swinkster, obviously. Maximoff, DeHoop.
Jeff Curry.
Jeff Curry was from there?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's funny because Vincent,
I always thought he was a Florida guy.
No, well, he goes there in the winter.
Okay.
Because I think his dad, it's a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he lives not so far. Actually, we went home to Michigan 2 weeks ago because we were in limbo as to like what bike Vincent was going to ride. And we had a Husky 250 there. And so we went there, and we flew there on Saturday evening. My parents picked us up, and my dad was like, I think Polka Dots is racing tomorrow. It's like a motorcycle club.
Okay.
And in Michigan, they have a split schedule, like morning or afternoon. So the youth classes are in the morning, and then some of the vet classes in the morning also, but then 25 plus, and then A, B, and C, everything's in the afternoon.
Okay.
And so this track is literally the exact layout since I rode a 65.
Hasn't changed.
Same. They moved the starting gate since it was on 60s, but I've ridden there as an amateur where the start gate's at, but that's the only difference.
Oh,
so
that's crazy.
It's a club. It's been 50 years.
Huh.
They have like 2 motocross races a year. Well, this one they had like, they call it a money moto, so it's like A and B riders, etc. So they have like a decent purse and a big whole shot cash.
Yeah.
Well, then Jeff Curry put up money for 10th to last, but you have to finish. It's a 30+2. Okay. So everyone's like trying to get this $1,000 for that. It's like two turns in essentially after the start. So there's like carnage everywhere. And my son's like, just started on a big bike. And I'm like, oh. But I'm basically like, let's show up because it's a 30+2.
Right.
Like, oh, yeah, because Operation Toughen Up is a go.
It's in full swing.
It's in full swing.
Okay.
But I just thought it was awesome that Jeff Curry, like, not only did he race in it, he was like giving everybody their sign-up money back plus some, but you had to finish.
That's awesome.
I was like, respect.
Good for him, dude.
Yeah,
That's
right?
glad to hear. I'm glad to hear what's he doing back there now?
I don't know.
Oh.
Still looks good. I saw him at because we went to a couple races.
Okay.
He used to always run a business where he had someone take golf balls out of ponds. Yeah. I don't know if he does that anymore, but
I've put a lot of them in there.
Same.
Business is good.
Yep.
Who else has come out of there? Was Rodney Barr from Michigan?
No, I think those guys were from like North Carolina area. Only reason I know that name is because they modified my first 85.
Eddie Warren?
Eddie Warren,
yeah. Okay.
Eddie, yeah.
I'm trying to think of who. I know there's a ton more I'm missing.
Keith Bowen.
The Bowens, yeah.
Beckingtons. Greg and Jason Beckington. And then they have some cousins that are similar age to me, Jason and Chris.
Okay.
Kelly Smith.
Jeff Stanton.
Jeff Stanton.
Obviously, yeah. Anyway, crazy. Was it fun growing up there? It had to be. Like, you guys, it seems like there's open land and you can kind of get after it and ride a little wherever, or am I wrong on that? Is it like private farmland, you can't get on it?
No, it's pretty private farmland. Like, when I came to California and would be riding in the hills with you guys and stuff, I'm like, bro, we're going to get to go to jail.
Yeah. So really, it wasn't like that bad. I figured maybe there was some open stuff.
Well, there's just private tracks, and really, like, everyone's pretty protective of their property. So
it's not like open free for all.
No, but there's a ton of private tracks because the dirt's good.
Well, and we'll get to it when we get to it, but we did have a couple of good years like in the 90s out here of like Railroad Canyon. Did you get into Railroad Canyon a little bit?
So that place where we used to test with Bones.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the one behind there, the canyon behind there.
Yeah.
I have a friend that owns that now.
Oh, really?
I've ridden in it in the last couple
There was a guy that used to come out there with a shotgun and blast away.
A friend of a friend owns that now. And so we park on his property. I took Vincent Donovan and then a couple of our friends that are friends with them who own it, in that where you would go down the backside and then come back up where Wyndham kind of made the track, I think.
Yep.
It's literally like as if the erosion made it back fresh.
You're kidding.
And so like I kind of cut in a similar track, and then I didn't, because my kids were like, this is techie. Vincent had a good time, but Donovan's like, and so our other friends also. So we were just hill climb in the center.
Okay.
And I'm waiting for it to rain again because it was so fun. It
Dude,
was so fun.
Okay, if you don't call me, my feelings are going to be very hurt.
Yeah, because it's crazy because we spent all of us spent a lot of time in that
Heck
area.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Dowd and Henry and Casey Johnson and Brandis, we used to that was like the spot.
Well, I couldn't believe like Bones would take us out there testing, like take the bulldozer or take the box van up the edge of that road.
I know. That was a spot.
Yeah.
So how'd you get into bikes? Did your dad race?
Yeah, my dad was to your point, like maybe in the 70s, it was like open land, and him and his buddies would ride wherever.
Yeah.
So him and a lot of his friends, which are now my friends, lifelong friends, obviously, were always into riding and racing. And so he, when I was a kid, he got me a 50. And then actually the first time I raced Loretto was on a PW 50, and he raced the vet class. He raced 30 plus at Loretto's and got 5th.
Dude, so first of all, holy crap, you raced a lot of years, dude. I printed this out, and my printer just was smoking when it was done. I burned through a whole ream of paper. 20 years you raced as a pro.
Was it? Well, I guess I raced a couple races in 97, and then I raced some in 2016. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you're, fourth on the all-time starts list?
I don't know.
I think you are, right? Nate? Producer Nate? Yeah, he gave me a thumbs up. Fourth all-time, dude.
Man, I should have quit a long time. I should have quit way ahead of that.
Well, so should Reed probably, but he pushed his number up. I don't think it'll ever be touched. Anyway, before you got into bikes, did you do other sports? Because you were young. Like my point was, your first time to Loretta's was 88, and it was in the 4 to 8 class. I mean, you were just little guy.
Yeah. I mean, I was like just turned 8 on I guess it was a PW 50 at that point. But yeah, I wouldn't, like I told you, I guess must have been before we were on recorded, but it was always like my parents perceived it as a hobby.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean like basketball team, soccer team.
You did it all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I was on the soccer team in high school.
Oh, really?
Because I had friends who were on the soccer team, and I was like, it got cold out and there wasn't a lot of races coming up, and they were like, bring it in. It's after tryouts, but we need you.
Yeah.
I'm like, fair enough, let's go. But so I think I played as a sophomore on the soccer team. Not that it was like, because I was more like a basketball guy.
Did you graduate high school?
Well, so then that was 10th grade.
Okay.
The next year, 11th grade, so I went public school through 10th grade. The next year I was on Mitch's team.
98.
That was the first year I even rode through the wintertime.
Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I have a theory. It gets shot down a lot with guys like, Carmichael and some of these other legends who just all they've ever done is a dirt bike.
Yeah.
But I feel like as an athlete, you're way better off. You're more well-rounded, hand-eye coordination, balance, just whatever, if you can do a lot of sports, right?
Agreed.
Look at Sean Palmer.
Yeah.
I mean, this dude can do anything, right? So I always ask guys, like, did you ever do other sports? What else did you do, And it's crazy that some of the legendary guys were like, you ever thrown a football with Ricky?
Yeah. Well, but I would say, as a whole, you're less likely to get injured by being an athlete.
Right.
As a whole. I mean, those would be facts, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't think it's totally necessary. It doesn't necessarily totally equate to racing motocross, but as far as like injury and stuff going on, Carmichael on some of those saves was pretty athletic.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So he shoots my whole theory apart.
You're right.
Because
You're right.
Throw a football with me, like, okay, this dude's definitely not going to the NFL. He can't really shoot baskets.
Yep.
You know what I mean? He's not great at other stuff athletically.
Yep.
But dang it, put him on two wheels and he's just magic.
I would say yourself, Ramsey, and Kelly Smith were probably like the most athletic racers that I've ever been around. And Shimoda's honestly a very good athlete.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like can do other things, like hand-eye coordination, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Okay, so what was your first race? And first bike was stock P-Dub? Same bike they're selling today?
Oh, yeah, stock beat up. Yeah, basically exact bike.
Yeah, it was maybe red and white.
Yeah, it was white and red, yeah.
That's awesome. Do you remember your first race?
No, but I just took my son to this Baja Brawl. It was their 50th year, and I raced there my very first time in 85.
Baja Acres, right?
Baja Acres, yeah.
I've always wanted to go. It looks like
it's cool.
Kind of a riot.
Well, it's just a fair. It like the tracks, like we talked about, my perspective of going to the track here versus it's like literally a park. Because, grass grows everywhere, trees are grow. And like I said, these places a lot of them are clubs. But
Glen Helen looks like a scene out of Mad Max.
Yeah.
Just wind blown.
Which fair enough. I mean, like they're doing their best.
Are they? Well, it's not their property.
And plus they're busy. They're busy trying to make money. They ain't trying to plant trees, dog.
That's true. I could use some shade out there.
Yeah,
though.
totally.
So you guys went out to Baja and did that?
Yeah.
With him?
Yeah. He had gone there twice. So I took him there on a 50 because Cobra had a bike for him to ride. And so we just flew and did it, which was super fun. And then this year we did because.
Was that your first place you raced?
That I raced?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. Still going strong.
Yeah, totally. Which it's like crazy because Red Bud is obviously a world-renowned track, but it's 2 hours south of me. And so there's all these club tracks in the center of the state that are like, all of them are super rad because the dirt's like
dirt. You guys' dirt is unreal up there.
It's a mixture of just clay and sand.
Mm. Yeah, that's something about Michigan. Obviously, the winters suck, but man, your dirt's primo. And you get a little sand, a little mud. You kind of get a little everything.
Yeah, totally.
Not too much hard pack.
No.
But you can go to Ohio.
Yeah, Ohio's super hard pack.
Yeah, real hard pack. Who was kind of your local riding crew when you were younger? Who's like the guys you grew up riding and racing with?
Man, there was a lot of us. Randy Valade, you know him?
Oh, Valade?
Yeah,
Really?
His brother, Ryan. And then good friends of ours are brothers, Chris and Jason Beckington. A friend of mine, Jeremy Boer. Josh.
That's a Dutch name.
Josh Woods.
Josh Woods.
Yep. He's from close by. He owns that GPF now, Caro Joja. Can't be missing anybody, but there was a lot of us. We were pretty tight. We were tight.
Those are fun days, right?
Like super fun. There was also a track near my house that a friend of this family of ours it's my dad's riding buddies from a long time ago. The Smiths, they had a super rad track. Like Swink would come and ride, Jeff Curry would come and ride. I'm like a little guy, so it was like sweet that they would come. But all of my friends would go ride there, which was like literally the land is across the street from the high school now. So I was like very lucky to have that because the dad Greg would spend so much time working on the track and building new jumps. It's funny because Brett Smith, went fast. He posted a video of us like trying to double some whoops.
I remember. I saw that.
That's from that guy's property.
Okay.
Yep.
Huh.
So it's just I've always just loved to ride, but I also had a ton of friends that like really loved to ride too. And it was crazy because now with my kid, it's all pretty serious amongst like the peers. Right.
It's different, right?
So I don't remember anyone not being encouraging of everyone, which you don't have to be. But it was also like maybe the perspective was there was not any, right? Everyone maybe thought it was a hobby. They didn't think they were like going to be sponsored.
Maybe that's it because I grew up racing in Montana and it would probably be very similar to Michigan other than our tracks sucked probably a lot more than yours did. But no one there thought they were going to ever be a pro. It was not. Yeah. Right. So if someone broke down, man, it was like, whoa, God, I got crazy. It was like everyone flocked to them to help. Hey, what do you need? Everyone was a family, and the kids would be off riding bikes after the race, and the parents are all drinking beer and campfire. That's how I remember racing as a kid. Yeah. And then somewhere between there and where we are now, like I don't go to all the amateur nationals or whatever, but it doesn't feel like that. The races I do go to, even the fun ones like Mammoth, it's like everybody's out to kill you.
Yeah, it's pretty serious. I mean, I think that's just there's so much education as to what is available as far as sponsorship. And to be fair, in California, there may be a goggle rep there. There may be a manufacturer rep there. So it's different than.
Is it different here? Do you like when you go race other places?
It's definitely different here.
Yeah.
Because like you even go to this Baja Brawl, which is perceived as a pretty big regional event. I would say like it gets a lot of national coverage even.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like super chill. I mean, it's a big deal to like win it, but it's like. It seems like a bigger deal to win this race at Paula yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just amongst like how it feels.
Yeah, right. It's just an intense vibe here, right?
Yeah, which I get it. I mean, but also I don't think anyone there really feels as if they were gonna earn some ride that day either.
So is this a problem our sport has? Like, is this something that needs to be?
I don't know if this is like a problem that can be fixed because it's just comes from the fact that it's expensive. So it's like, when we grew up and you buy a $3,500 125 retail and the new top end is $100.
Right.
Versus now, like, you know, it's not that we're the only ones who know that a 4-stroke needs a top end at 20 hours and then needs a full rebuild at 40, and we're talking $1,500 and $3,000. So like, yo kid, I need you to, instead of just burning gas and having a good time, I need you to hold that thing wide open. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like, I get it on some level, but it's also like,
yeah,
it's just not the same.
it's not the same.
And some of it comes down to just like the education as to like what it could be as far as what a career is and the costs.
So how have you handled that with Vincent? I mean, you know, you want to be serious, right? Like if you're going to go do something, do it right, especially if you're spending this kind of time and effort. But I always tell people, like, dude, just always try your best. Put everything, you know, make that life lesson of if you're going to do something, do it well.
Yep.
But just enjoy the time with your family, because maybe he makes it, maybe he doesn't. You'll always like have those memories and enjoy that time, right?
Yep.
Is that how you've tried to take it? Or
Well, that's definitely how I've tried to take it for sure. But it's also like because my kid has always taken it pretty serious, so I kind of like laugh about it.
Oh, you do?
Because
Okay.
he's like so intense. So then at a certain point, you kind of have to be like a bit stern about a mistake that would be made. Like, so he would have a big crash, and had already talked to him about like, this is going to happen if you got to do, and he would crash and he'd get up and be like, I'm sorry. Basically like exactly what I told him not to do. But I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, don't tell me you're sorry. I understand. I just need you to focus.
Yeah.
So then it becomes like, okay, he gets 8th when he's capable of winning by a lot. Then you kind of have to be a little bit stern, because what they think they're capable of is what you hold them accountable to. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's like you just want to have a good time, but if like this, you know that his personality type is that he's in it for the long haul. It's just difficult.
It's a very hard line to walk.
It's difficult too. It's just parenting.
Yeah.
It's just parenting. And ultimately it's just like, there's no perfect way. But ultimately, like with this sport in particular, it's, you know, it's a bit risky. So it's kind of like gets a parent on edge when, you know, there's a mistake that is repeated.
Yeah. Better you than me, man. I don't know how you deal with the stress. Who was, when you were a younger guy kind of coming through, who was someone that you learned a lot from? Did you have somebody that helped you, coach you a lot, or maybe you just watched like a fast local pro at the time?
Well, I would say when I was a kid, I would watch the pros super closely.
Were you kind of like Vincent is, just like?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like, I remember like vividly, like I'm on like a 50, right? Because Swink was on like a super mini or a 125, and I would be like, wow. He's really like the first person that I would be like, wow about, whether it be like jumping off of a single over 4 sand rollers or something like that other people weren't even remotely doing, something creative on the track.
Swink was gnarly.
Yes, at a very young age.
Yeah.
And so like I would be like, wow. Or he would be like crazy aggressive with people, even at a young age. Like basically like clean them and be like, you want someone in the pits? Let's go. Like
Swinkster.
Like right away. Like I'm talking, I'm on a 50 and he's on a super mini.
Fighting people.
And then McClear was like always super close. So they like were also rode really, really, really well. I mean, I would probably say Swink was the first guy that I was like, oh my gosh, before Stewart. And those are probably the only two that I've been like, wow. Because it would be like stuff that you're like, you made that look not that big a deal, and that was risky. Where like Jet Lawrence, he's obviously like a wow guy, but it's different.
Yeah.
Where those guys were like taking risks that made it look easy.
Yeah.
And Swink was that good. So he was one that had a lot of influence on me at a super young age. And then I guess.
Did you know him? Did you like?
Well, like he wasn't super social, but his mom would like get me a jersey or something like. So he was always like my idol as a kid.
Okay.
Because he would always race local races too, because the tracks like we talked about were sweet.
Yeah.
So they were, you know, or he would race up, or there was a lot of competition, to be fair. There's a lot more people than we mentioned from Michigan that were great riders.
Yeah. I know I'm missing a ton of them.
Oh, so am I. But I just have like the utmost respect for them, which is like, you know, why I've always kind of pumped up the Mafia.
Yeah. That's
like,
rad.
yeah. But and then I guess into my teenage years, Ron Hebman introduced me to Jeff Stanton, and I would stay with him for probably a couple days a week for, I don't know, 5-6 years, to be fair. So he definitely took me under his wing, and then his entire family have always been so kind to me. Through injuries, Sarah was a physical therapist at the time. She's a PA now. She would set me up with orthopedic surgeon, and I would do the rehab and stuff with her. Nicole and I would stay at their house. I took my sons and my family went up there this year, and he's obviously raising deer and doing a bunch of stuff. He's still a very close friend of mine, so I'm very thankful for him for sure. But yeah, I would say that those two had the most profound impact on me as a kid for sure.
Yeah, well, amazing. I don't think Swink gets the credit he deserves for how good he was, because when he got onto that Suzuki 250, I think the bike was a major disadvantage for him. Imagine if you'd put him on Yamaha or Honda at the time, on a factory bike. I think his career would have gone a completely different direction.
Yeah, but it's also just difficult, right? Some people are equipped to handle that. So it's like hard to say, because even as a kid, right? Like I told you, I would just watch from afar, and the only real interaction from a young age would be like through his parents, because he was pretty shy, or maybe just unsure of himself. Where I'm like, this dude is sick. I've never seen anything like.
But
this.
He came out and dominated 2 years at 125.
But that's what I'm getting at. So it's just like, I can't really speak for him, but yeah, it's just obviously difficult. It's not just the riding portion, as we know.
Right. You definitely got to put the mental side together. But there was times early on where he was giving Jeremy all he could handle, right? Like Swink was gnarly. That's my point. Swink was gnarly. And I think a lot of younger kids who missed it, they just have no idea. They don't even know the name.
Yeah, because I just got onto big bikes probably, and he was on Factor Suzuki, and he would come ride with us at the track in DeWitt. And I mean, he's like, because he would be perceived as not trying, as what would be the rap he would get is that he wasn't trying or he wasn't doing the work. But he came and didn't have a spare wheel, and he did 2 motos on a flat rear tire.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He had like no time to find someone and tell him his story. He's like, yeah, you can think whatever you want.
Yeah, that's how he was.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. So you got serious pretty early. Was when you guys went to Loretta's that first year, were you guys like, hey, let's just go do this thing for fun? Or were you like, hey, time to buckle down here, let's get a national title?
No. The first year we went was like just for fun. Because my dad raced as well.
Okay.
But I think I led most of the first moto on the PW, and then I crashed in the back and it got piled up, and then Clint Boyer won the first moto.
Is that right?
I got second, yes, which is a cool story, because we had known them all through, because they were like super close with Carmichaels too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it really got super serious. Like I think that I rode an 85. The year I rode an 85 and 65, probably 91. I broke my arm, and then I started actually battling Maximoff at a local race, because he was like Suzuki support ahead of me, and he rode really well. And so it was like super helpful for me to be able to ride with him, because he was like a very, very good rider at a young age.
Yep.
And then I broke my arm trying to hold him off one day. Then I think I got the cast off right before we went to Loretta's, and then I did like the first couple motos, and I led Carmichael to like the very, very end, the third moto. And then Team Green had called like that week later.
This is the first year or the second year?
No, I think that would have been
90?
91, I think.
91, okay.
I rode probably, I don't know. And then, so I got Team Green help for 92.
Okay.
Because I think it was Jose Gonzalez, Mercedes Gonzalez's brother, called, and my dad was like, get out of here. Thought it was one of his riding buddies, right? Like joking around. And so then I got some help then. And then it became a bit more serious, because I was like obviously very prideful of like, okay, cool. They believe in me. Cool. It's on.
Yeah.
So then from then even before that, I have a pretty serious personality. But like from then on, I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe I can make something of this. That's what I thought to myself, at least.
After 92, that was when kind of the help came.
Well, 91's when the help came. And then 92, I think I won with some Cowie help.
I mean, you must have been having good motos, because you were getting like, 14th that first year after the pileup, which it's funny that these stock car legends, all Jimmy Johnson came out of motocross, Clint Boyer, and then you went 6, 5, 5, and then a 13. Maybe something happened here, but like you were up in the mix.
The 6th here, the 65, I was like a little big for it. My dad got bullied by the AMA guys talking about if you have a different size shock spring, even though it's stock, you're not stock, which there's no way that can be true. I remember cussing my dad the whole time I was out there on the track, talking about this thing's bottoming out. I would be dominating right now.
Can I get the right spring or what?
That's something like, right? Then I think whatever it was, I got 5th, must be. Yeah.
Huh. So who was in the mix like with you in these classes?
See, I don't know. Carmichael had to have been in those.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that age, because he's 1 year younger than me, or older than me, so he's like with that age gap, he's for sure in there. So, but it was like same dudes we know. I mean, Sellard, Shea Bentley, like the whole because I raced with all of them the whole time.
Okay. That's funny. All right. It was a fast crowd.
Robbie Horton was super fast as a kid.
Yeah. There was a ton of kids that were fast all the way through amateurs, and then just like, we always shed some off. They just don't make the transition, or they get sidetracked, or they get hurt.
Well, and to be fair, the first couple years, the kid that I would always race in Michigan, his name's Chris Considine. He won 50s and 60s and 80s.
Okay.
And then I beat him. I think I beat him in 92 because I think we went 1-1 going into the third moto, and then I beat him in that one, and then I don't remember him racing again.
It's interesting, right? Like, how can someone be that good? I could rattle off Danny Olvin, Steve Olson, Lowell Thompson. You remember any of those names?
I remember Lowell Thompson just because I was like a junkie on trying to find dirt bikes on CMC or whatever. So he would have raced some.
Yeah, Rick Simmet, Butch Smith. Like, there was these guys that were so fast, and then just one thing or another happens.
Yeah, which is it's difficult to keep up with. As a parent, I get it.
No, it's happened through all throughout time, right? But that's why I always tell people, like, hey, this may happen, it may not.
Yeah.
If you're gambling on your child's being a pro and taking care of you, take your money, all of it, to Vegas right now and put it on black.
Totally.
You're better off. That's a safer bet.
Charlie Bogard as an 80 rider would have been like a multi-time champ. He was that elite.
He was gnarly.
Oh, dude, it was like him and Carmichael were like about to fight on the track.
Jeff DeMent was radical.
Yep.
And, had an okay career, but like, sometimes it just doesn't work out. Okay, so tell me about this first, the first few years. You're having a good time. You get some support. You get a little serious. You win. You win your first Loretta's title, 92. Like, did that change things for you guys? Were you like, ooh?
No, I don't remember really changing anything.
No.
I mean, but again, I wasn't paying for anything, so.
You were just having
as a parent, you get it.
Were you serious as a racer on like mini bikes? Like, I kind of remember, speaking of Max Maximov, I was chasing his sisters around that whole weekend. At 92, I won a title there that year, but like, I was probably more concerned with after the races going down to the creek and hanging out.
Yeah. It was different then, though, because it's like no phones. There was no Insta bangers.
No.
You're not there trying to do some marketing.
Is that how it is now? It's business all day?
100%.
Oh, no. Yeah, it was a different time for sure.
Yeah.
We just had fun. We went down, I can't remember where there was you climb that tree and jump out of the tree.
Bro, I take Vincent over there, and I'm like, you don't even understand. This tree right here, there was planks. Pastrana's dad went as high as you could and was backflipping off of this.
Yeah.
He's like, that one? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, somehow I ran from this road and got over this rock and landed down there. He's like, when you were here racing? I'm like, I must have probably won the pro sport or something. And I'm out here like risking my life on this cliff jump. I'm like, you guys aren't even allowed over there now.
They keep them all off.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's like
different world.
Remember all the way over there where the bridge is?
Yeah.
People are parked in that field and past that.
Yeah,
they're parked in the field past Loretta's house.
That's
so
wild.
I'm always like doing the math, like, man, how is there more people? So they've added classes. I don't know how many classes they've added, but certainly like everyone has a massive motorhome now, where before people had box vans and stuff. But
I got to go. I haven't been since 92.
You need to go.
Blow my mind, wouldn't it? Yeah, I got to get out there next year. I keep threatening to do the 50 plus because I turned 50 this year.
Oh, let's go.
It's going to be muddy though. At least one moto.
Why is that a problem?
As I suck in the mud. I'll end up
still
worse than ever. You should see how bad I am. Can't get out of my own way. Okay, so
50 plus is if you can guarantee it doesn't rain. Is that what I just heard?
If you can promise me the weather's good, I go.
No. I always say I would love to race, but I don't need another 5 years to recover emotionally from me not winning. I'm already past this. I don't need another 5 years for me to recover from this.
It's just if someone said, "Hey, I'm going. I have a killer pit. You can stay here. I'll take your bike. I'm covering the costs." Like, just make it.
Well, I feel
make
like
it totally
I
simple.
feel like,
maybe I go, but it's like it's expensive.
No, I feel like we could sort this out. You just ask for help. That was like basically it. ping, go race, go fund me.
Well,
And then was because we could definitely find someone to take the bike.
yes, I probably could make that happen.
We do this for work, it seems like. So I feel like we could sort this out.
Hold on, pump your brakes. You're going to get me at Loretta Lynn's here before I'm sure I want to go. But
Yeah, but what happens when Fro cleans your front wheel, and he stops and looks at you talking about, oh, you want some? You're going to just laugh that off? That's the problem. That's where your mind's got to go. Am I okay with this happening?
and I got to race Mike Brown. I mean, come on. He still thinks it's 1991.
Totally.
I'm not trying to do that.
My younger son, Donovan's been trolling me for years because he's always like, oh, my gosh, Mike Brown's my favorite rider. Because he's basically like, yo, I need you to race. I'm like, I got nothing for him, dude. You know how much he rides? I ride quarterly at the most.
Yeah.
And
Well, I do sections. If we're testing a bike, I'm like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
going to do this corner and that corner, and then I'll pull over. May do it a couple times. Like, I don't do laps. I don't know when the last time I did a start, you know?
The thing is now is you can't say, I don't have a bike. You can choose between them.
I know. If I can race the Varg, the electric bike.
That's not happening.
Okay. So tell me about you won 8 titles at Loretta's. That's a lot. Like you ended up coming out of there pretty high.
Well, I knew that it was like probably my most important race. And to be fair, I couldn't ride through the winter time. So I would, with my Team Green help, I had to go to Texas. So I would get like, I mean, when I was older, I would.
How'd you do that with school?
I just took like a spring break. I mean, I'd like literally most of the time it wasn't just my family. It was like my dad and I would pack the bike in the motorhome, take a chair out or something. So we didn't have to take a trailer. We would like do it as rough it as possible. And I would get like between 6th and 10th, to be fair, come home with like the craziest blisters of all time. Because I literally hadn't ridden since Mini O's. And so then I'm like, okay, next time I see these dudes, it's over.
So you get all motivated.
So
sometimes I think it's good to have a little break.
That really helped me.
Yeah.
With Loretta's, to be fair. Because that was like the one race that I could be ready for.
Right. So you came in hot.
Yeah.
I think sometimes now, I'll be curious to hear your thoughts, because kids don't get a break. You know, if you're going to do it, you got to move south. You got to be at a camp. You're riding every single day. It's motos. It's like a grind.
Yeah.
I always found if I got hurt and had to take some time off the bike, I come back and I mean, my fitness is a little off, but dude, you're hungry. You're like so excited to ride. You're almost faster than when you quit.
Yeah. True. I mean, but I think also we would both agree that for me, it was like, you know, I took that break and then I was maybe treated it as a hobby because my parents treated it that way as a hobby for like a really long time. So then it was hard for me to turn the corner and do this hard work consistently. And then to me, that's where like the greatness is at. That's like the difference between like myself and Carmichael. It's like I wouldn't say, you know, he had the ability to be consistent with like a crazy amount of effort. Whereas like it was hard for me to do. I would just do way too much and then I would have to back it way down. Then I would be like, get triggered emotionally and then do way too much.
Do you think,
which that obviously comes with some level of like consistency with the support as well. Cause obviously he had family support like crazy.
Yeah. So let me ask you that question.
Again, I'm speaking of him as the standard.
Right. Well, and he is and still in a lot of ways and always was.
Yep.
But his, you know, you had made a comment like, if Jeannie wasn't who she was, let's say it's just Big Rick taking him to the track, would he be the Ricky Carmichael we know today?
Well, we were talking about as like parenting and like trying to make some stuff that's nothing motocross related. Like, what do we do? Do we just let him fail?
Yeah.
What do we do? Then I'm like, where does your mind go?
And, you know, you said there isn't like, okay, this is how you raise children.
Yeah.
These, you know, everyone's different and you're doing your best.
And I'm only asking because I like wholeheartedly respect you. So I'm like, what's your perspective? Yeah.
Well, I'm asking you for the same reason, dude, because kids are tough.
Yeah.
You know, the things we did with our older daughter that worked, they don't work with my younger daughter.
Yep.
So I'm like scrambling and it's how hard do you push them, you know? And I've always been of the belief, like if they don't want it, I'm not going to make them want it. But really look at some of our best guys. Again, I go back to it. James, Ricky.
Some of?
Well, the Reed didn't get pushed, I don't think. Well, maybe by his wife.
Totally. But I mean, like, I guess he's a bit of an anomaly. But somehow he came here with like he really had no plan B.
Right.
It's like if I come here and don't do well and I have to go home, that's what I don't want to have happen, right?
It was a burn the ships type of deal.
That's what. Yeah.
But they all have a couple of things in common. I've gone over this when Phil Lawrence was on. I don't know if you watched his show. He blew my mind with this. He's like, show me a legendary champion, like multi-time, who comes from a family of chaos and dysfunction.
Yeah, true.
And I'm like, okay. I mean, Ricky, James, Dungy, Reedy, Wardy, just the top 20 all time in the U.S., like legendary guys. Their parents are still together. Mm-hmm. They have a solid like family platform, right?
Obviously, Jet and Hunter. Yeah.
So that blew my mind.
Yeah.
And then, you know, but again, it's a completely separate issue. How hard do you push them? Because Jeannie, you went downstate with Ricky.
Oh, yeah.
You know the program. It's gnarly. I went in 97, his rookie year, and that was his rookie year. I think it only got probably worse. I couldn't believe what we were doing, how much gas we were burning, how strict she was. She's like, Ping, your lap time dropped half a second. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I made a mistake. I'm 32 minutes in. I'm shriveled up like a piece of beef jerky. I've been sweating all day. I don't know what this humidity's happening. Well, you should have went faster the last half of the lap. I'm like, okay. Well, you're going to need to do that moto over. I mean, it's like, what? What are you talking about, lady? I mean, she held him to such a high standard, and he hated it at the time. But the results speak for themselves.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what I said too about basically holding them accountable to what the level that you think they're capable of, because then they find confidence in that. And that's the portion where, like, you know, someone telling you good job and you know that's not your best, you're like, really? Really? That you think that's my best? Okay, that's my best. I guess 8th is what I got.
Because and they internalize that, right? They make that connection.
Yeah. Because there was a huge difference. Like, I have a great relationship with my parents. My dad had raced himself, so he has like a level of respect for it. And it was always like, I'd come off the track and be pissed, right? He'd be like, I don't know, man. That was a sweet roost you did over there. And like, you know what I mean? I'm like, bro.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So he always had the perspective of like, what you're doing is awesome, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, I would just want more.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, the dude is awesome. The dude is all time.
Your dad's
awesome.
the best.
He's awesome.
Yeah. I really like your dad. Okay. So let's talk about you kind of transitioning into pro race, because it's a funny little story. Your first pro race, you stole my mechanic.
I didn't even know that. At the time, I didn't.
97.
So had you already signed with another team?
Yeah. Yeah. So 97, you won. Let's see. Oh, you actually went back to Loretta's again. 97, though, you won both classes, 125 A stock, 250 open A stock. Then went to Broome.
Yep. That was my first pro race, I guess.
And that was your first pro race. And Kenny G, Broome, so it would have been August of 97. Yep. Pulled yourself a 17th.
I got 10th first moto. I caught up to Brandon and was like, what am I going to do here? Like, only thing I knew how to pass was smash someone. I'm like, I'm not going to get murdered right now.
He will kill you.
Yeah.
So, Kenny Germain, who was Fonseca's old mechanic, great dude.
Great dude.
He was my wrench that year. I probably frustrated him because I didn't have a great season. But
Mitch was probably frustrating him more than anyone, to be fair.
There's a good possibility.
Yeah,
there's some of that.
Yeah.
So he was going to be with you the next year. So they said, hey, Ping, would you mind? I don't even remember who wrenched for me. Maybe Lamar. You remember him?
Yep.
Or Lamont?
Lamont.
Great dude too, Lamont.
So he was Decker's mechanic earlier in the year? Decker was on the team that year, correct? 97?
Yeah. So he
must
have.
Yeah.
Or maybe Craig was hurt. I can't remember.
Decker must have been hurt, because I don't remember him being in the truck. Or I probably would have remembered, because I looked up to all you guys.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. Anyway, I just remember, Mitch was like, hey, so we're going to, put Kenny with Nick. And I was like, not cool, but I get it.
Yeah. Sorry, dude.
It's not cool, man. No, it's fine. I was FMF Honda the next year, so I'd already signed with that. I mean, Mitch gave me 3 years to do something. It was like broken femur, torn ACL. So, is what it is. What do you remember from that first pro race? Like, what stands out that's just different?
I remember catching up to Brandes and being like, now what? There's like 4 dudes ahead of him, and I'm like, I think I'm doing pretty decent. But there's like 4 dudes right here I could for sure get, but I didn't really like know the tactics. I'm like, don't mess it up, kind of. Like, this is decent. Like, this is good enough.
Yeah.
Because I rode well. I like rode to 10th, and then there was like, I think there was 6th right in front of me. There's a whole group, and I'm like, because Brandis gave me the like, you want to die? Try to pass me on the outside. And I'm like, rather finish than get killed.
Yeah.
Then I think I crashed in the second moto, got 20th or something, I think.
Were you doing that step down kind of off the start? You know, it went right, left, up, and then there was like a step down or triple step down. Do you remember that?
Yep.
It was sketchy.
You had to land away right. Dirt was way firmer on the right.
It was like
on the left, you could stop.
Oh yeah,
and end up
gooey.
Yeah,
I'm glad they don't go there anymore. I didn't love that place.
it was, again, very unique.
Yes,
It obviously was like I liked it towards the end because it was you kind of had to know, like I said, land to the right. There's like, you know, the terrain wasn't even. It wasn't like they drove a dozer over it. Even, to be fair, it was so off cambered everywhere.
Well, and that whole hill section was like rocks, hard as a rock underneath, and then they just bury it in sawdust.
Yep.
So you're like, oh, it's deep and killer traction, and then
And that downhill was sandy or steep.
steep, bumpy. Yeah, it was probably a cool track to watch. It just wasn't a lot of fun to ride.
Yeah, Bruce hurt.
Yeah. Oh, brutal. Anything else that stands out from that one?
Nope.
What about Steel City? Because that was the last one you did.
Steel
too.
City, I remember the probably like a couple things happened. I don't think I got to ride much in practice because something happened. Something happened in my shock, and they put Casey Johnson suspension on because they didn't have spare stuff for me. And I was like, bro, did I forget how to ride?
Oh, it didn't work.
I don't know. I'm like, I straight up forgot how to ride. Did terrible.
Rough day.
But because I knew that track too, because I had high expectations, so I was like really bummed.
Were you pretty good about kind of managing your expectations or dealing with disappointment, or was that a pretty big blow to you?
Was I good at managing expectations?
Yeah.
No. No.
It's hard. You go from being like, you know, look at you, 8 titles, you're winning everything, right? And then you show up in the pro racing.
I knew it's a big jump, though. I was my perspective was not.
But how long did you go before you won? You know, like this is something I bring up to people. It's like if you're a factory guy or you get one of these rides, you've won a lot, local, regional, national. You win a lot.
Yep.
And then you jump up to the pro class, and like most people don't win for a while.
Well, to be fair, also like we raced Carmichael.
Yeah, well, you got some jerk like that. He's winning everything. Yeah. Not a jerk. I love Ricky. I'm just saying somebody that good, it's rare to beat him.
And he was just so consistent as well. Yeah.
And it seems like there's always someone, you know, if it wasn't him, it was James or it was Wyndham.
Yeah.
Wyndham.
Obviously,
Wyndham was my biggest frustration.
Yeah, and it's noteworthy to get a win over Jet now.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so what about that transition into pro racing? So you were Mitch's team in 98.
Yeah, so that biggest thing there was like the first year I didn't go to public schools. I went to public school through 10th grade, and then 98, 97 off season, I would have been a junior in high school, and that was the first year I didn't go to public school. So that was the first time that I'd ever been ridden through the winter.
So what did you do?
So I came out here and I
homeschool or something, or like
I got homeschool books. However it worked at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you finish and got your diploma then?
No.
Oh no.
No, I'm still 10th grade. I got eligibility except for high school eligibility except for
You should go dominate.
I aged out.
Oh, you did?
I looked into it.
Oh.
Because my brother's like 4 years younger than me, and I'm like, let's get on the football team together.
You should Billy Madison it, dude. Just show back up. You could dominate.
No.
Show
I went to my nephew's football games, the ones in 7th grade and ones on a JV team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not.
You're out.
Yeah.
What about basketball?
They're bigger than me.
Oh, yeah.
Basketball, I could out-hustle them. Obviously, I would need to work on my range for my jumper. Still going to be a small guy.
Was there anybody kind of helping you, coaching you? You know, like a Johnny O for Ricky. Was there anyone helping you into that pro
No,
stuff?
Stanton helped me with a lot of stuff, but it was more like just the training side, to be fair. And then I will say, like, the first couple years when I rode pro, I mean, obviously a teenager and come to California with, like, first time I have not so much parental supervision, I will say Nathan Ramsey was a very, very, very good mentor. I would tell him some stories about, like, bro, I'm kind of an idiot. Like, get done with the moto and you're like tired and you're a little bit vulnerable, talking about taking your gear off, and I'm like, hey, bro, what about this? Like, he'd be like, do not do that again.
Really?
Yeah. He would be like, strong stance of like, do the right thing. And I'm like, looking back, I'm like, not that I was on a slippery slope by any means. I was just doing teenager stuff. But man, he
lined you out.
Yeah, yeah. He was always such a positive influence. He's a really nice dude. Still to this day, I'm really grateful for his friendship.
Yeah, Nate's awesome. That guy, we had a house being built. I didn't have anywhere to live, and he's like, because I was going to his Bible study at the time. And he's like, you can just come live with us if you want. He had just had a brand new baby. This is when their daughter was born. Mm-hmm. Brand new baby, and he's like, just come live with us. And I'm like I didn't even really know him that well, you know. But that's the kind of guy he is. Like, he's awesome. So
plus us old school guys, we're always like, we're gonna have to hate you to race you. So you're kind of like, what's your tactic here? What's your tactic?
I'm gonna
you
keep
trying to bro me
tough.
down? I'm gonna keep acting tough.
You're confusing me with your kind words. That's hilarious. So, how did that year go? Let's talk about '98.
I still, for somehow, I must be a hybrid Team Green / Pro Circuit contract because I raced Loretta's, as we can see.
Yeah.
Here. So I would go on like off weekends to area qualifiers. I remember doing area qualifier in Oklahoma and the regional in Texas for flip-flop, one or the other. Was just happened to be on off weekends of the Nationals. Very first race I went to, Supercross, Indianapolis, super rutted. Forgot to sign up ahead of time. Missed the press day riding, which is absolute bummer.
Yeah.
Went into Saturday, very overconfident. Was whipping it off the finish line over and over and over. Landed sideways, high-sided crash, dislocated my shoulder. I don't know what place I got in them. I somehow made it through the heat race in the main. I think I got like 7th or 8th.
In St. Louis?
Nope. This was at Indy.
Oh, at Indy. Okay.
I remember I rode behind Brian Deegan the entire time, and I'm like, he's way better than I thought. I thought he was a bum, but I'm like, I can't hold on. This is me because I'm like doing the math. I'm like, I'm gonna veer off and go in the stands because my shoulder was that weak. But I also remember thinking, Brian Deegan's not as bad as I thought. Because you're just cocky as like a kid. These stupid things you remember. And then I missed a bunch of racing because I waited to get my shoulder stronger. And then I think I got 4th at St. Louis, and then I did pretty decent. But I raced. There was a race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it had rained. Okay. And I hole shot and led some, and then.
That was your Wyndham one or something, right?
Wyndham endoed on the 250, and then Dowd one.
Oh, Dowd one. Okay.
So I led some. Ricky passed me. Stayed close to him. Coming to the white flag, my bike detonated to a standstill. Stopped.
You were in second?
Second.
Oh man.
Funny story about that is because like Mitch has been helping us with Vincent stuff since he was little.
Yeah.
And so then he comes wheeling out one day. I'm like picking up something for Vincent, and he's like, remember that time at that one speedway where you were doing pretty well? I think you're doing pretty well. And then the bike stopped running? He hands me like a head. He's like, I'm like, so this is kind of like what happened? No. This is the head.
He had it.
This is the head. And I'm like, so it's like all looks like you hit it with a Dremel from where the spark plug is to the water jacket. And he's like, yeah, I don't think I had too much compression, just not enough water. And I'm like, you hear that, guys? That's as close as it's going to get to I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
I think you owe me, I don't know, second place bonus was probably like, what, $400? I'll take that in cash.
If you could just pick up In-N-Out for lunch, we'll call it even. That's funny.
Yeah. So I got that head in the garage.
Do you?
And
yeah.
The second takeaway was we actually use split fire spark plugs.
I don't remember us using them. I thought it was all a farce.
So we must have, because this was like 98. We must have used them at some point.
They probably stopped after that week.
Too much spark, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, but it was fine. I mean, like I think I got 5th at Southwick. I did pretty well. I wasn't like amazing. But
yeah,
I
5th
at
the Wick, 8th
solid.
at Glen Helen, 7th at Broome, 7th at Steel City. I mean, like top 10s.
But I'm like,
all over.
I'm like battling Jimmy Button and Mike Brown and you and these dudes where I'm like, I'm awesome. I am awesome. I'm battling Mike Brown because like at that point I don't know, he was number 100, but he was like very very like at that point I'm 17, turning 18, and so These dudes, I'd pass me if I had more speed. They would stop me like 6 times a lap. I'm like, I guess I'm meant to be 7th because this dude ain't having me.
It is not going to happen. Did you, so that 98 winter, were you out here the whole time? And where were you staying out here in California?
Sharon Richards, I stayed at her place.
Okay.
Yep. So we've known them from the Team Green days, and then I don't know if Mitch worked something out with her to where like it worked out, or Cow. I don't know. It was very, very helpful.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yes.
Sweet lady.
So I obviously that was like super helpful, but I would like go back to Michigan as much as possible. And at that point, like I stayed for the whole off season, and then the first race I hurt my shoulders, then I went directly home and did some rehab with Sarah Stanton, and then did what I could there, and then went back to racing from riding in Michigan.
Was that, I mean, 17, dude, it's young to be solo out here.
That's what I'm telling you. I'm like very thankful of Nathan Ramsey's.
Yeah. Okay.
Positive encouragement.
Okay. That winter was El Nino. That's when it rained like all the time.
That's when that valley is where we rode most of the time.
There were so many good tracks.
Well, then winter. Because I remember taking you, Ramsey would bring me, and then it would be you and Casey, and probably Brandis. You had all these tracks, and I am like, but I have no shot. Because dude, at those hill tracks, Casey Johnson was so fast.
Yeah.
I am like, bro, I have no shot. I'm gonna get 12th. If I hole shot, I'm going directly to 12th.
We had fun. Those tracks were amazing that
Dude.
winter, right? Like still in my head, that's maybe the best winter ever here. And I remember there was one track that was right off the 215 freeway where they split. Do you remember that? You could see it from the freeway.
Where LaPaglia's on that property?
Just a little north of there.
Yep.
And one day,
I think that was the one where I was like, Casey Johnson was like amazing.
Well, one day,
because the Redwood Canyon one I finally got good at.
Yeah. Well, that was so hilly, right?
Well, the first one was super rough because that's where Pro Circuit wanted us to go, right?
Yeah,
so we would test there, and I remember Jimmy Perry out there being like, "Let's go," and I'm like, "Bro, I can't function."
Well, that one, I remember pulling up one day to this track, and it would look like a national. There was probably 8 box vans, another 10 trucks. Mm-hmm. Once everyone found this track, it was on, and it rained. It was incredible, and cops showed up, like busted the whole thing up. Wrote a bunch of people tickets. You remember that?
I wasn't there that day.
Oh.
I missed it.
Okay, so going into 99, you're still a senior. Gosh, you're still young. It's crazy how young you got started. You got a season under your belt. Anything interesting going into 99?
I definitely was like more confident for sure.
Okay.
And then I was definitely a little bit more comfortable with riding in the California tracks. Before 98 was difficult because like Carmichael was on the team, Ramsey came on, Casey was obviously super elite, and then Matasevich rode the West Coast. So there was a lot happening on the team.
Yeah.
And the expectation was like really high because Carmichael was doing really well. I remember going to the Paris Invitational thing, and none of us did well. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, I didn't die because those jumps were massive.
Yeah.
And then we left there and went to the Cowie track and did a moto as a team in the afternoon.
Because Mitch was so.
And I'm like 17, and I like there's a triple with a huge run up to whoops, and I'm like, bro, like what? Right? These slick whoops that hadn't been watered in a month with some speed. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna get smoked here 10 out of 10 times. I remember being like, bro, I cannot get last by a long way. I gotta at least keep them close.
Gotta hang tight.
Yeah. Yeah. So those were tense days for sure for me.
And you got a taste of like OG Mitch. He was an angry man.
Oh no. He was OG Mitch. But I also, you got to remember in those times, 98, 99, 97, he just put that building up. Could you imagine how that feels for him to come from like a rented space to buying the property?
That's a big nut.
That is a big investment.
Yeah.
So I like to have the perspective, right? Because I'm like, he's definitely more, I wouldn't say he's empathetic. It's just the fact that he has more perspective. But then at the moment, like as an adult now, like he was pretty young then to buy that property and put that building up. That was a lot for him, dude. And I'm just like a 17-year-old over there on his phone talking about, hey, I'm calling home because I can't afford it on my own cell phone or whatever. He rolls by and I'm in the race shop on the phone. It's calling long distance and he's looking at me like, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Can't afford it otherwise. So so all of those years were super, super, super difficult.
Yeah.
But by design, because he obviously he also had told me like, hey man, you were just a kid Kawasaki like put onto me. I didn't know you ahead of time, so like I just thought you were a punk kid that they were pushing on me, like they said was good.
Well, and that was you kind of alluded to the fact that you did some amateur and whatever. That's how they were doing it in that time frame. Casey Johnson came on in 95 as that kid. Mm-hmm. He did 3 supercrosses or 4 he got to do, like the local ones. But then he was doing Whitney, he was doing Ponca Loretta's World Mini, you know what I mean? So it was kind of a stepping stone into the team. And then 96 he came on full time. So that's what they were doing with kids back then.
Well, obviously Carmichael had his own set of rules, which he was him. But also I didn't know how it worked before. Because again, like the education to how it worked, I was just like, yeah. Because there was, whether it was Shea Bentley or Sellards, it was like, could have been any of us. Mm-hmm. But I guess looking back, I probably had the better resume at Loretta's for sure than those guys. But we were all like pretty close level-wise.
Yeah.
And we all had Team Green help. So I'm like thankful that I got the opportunity. But again, like I was kind of like, I don't. But luckily, if they didn't help me, I was going to get help elsewhere. Other people were. We spoke with other people too, but we obviously wanted to stick with
YOT or was it Honda Troy back then, or who else was talking to you?
Yeah, Honda Troy, and then like there was that Primal Impulse team. There was a lot of opportunity. Like, shoot, what did you ride Primal Impulse in '99?
99 and 2000, yeah.
Yeah, because 99 for me was like a pretty good year, but it was like when I was like I would get frustrated because the expectation of me was much higher. And then I think I got second in the Supercross series. Didn't win a race, but I was on the podium a lot. And then outdoors, I think I got 4th, and I won a race and was on the podium a lot. So I was on the year where I was on a 2-year deal and hit the kickers to make the money the next year. That was all the same time where Lytle or Casey Johnson got paid. What everyone thought was like a fair bit, where like the teams were talking about. So yeah, I just remember it being like super stressful times for me. But I'm young. I'm at that point for sure.
Yeah. I think Mitch got kind of with Nathan. Because he would always come at you like he came at Rhino. Just if he would piss Rhino off, yell at him and degrade him and whatever, like it fired Rhino up. He came back the next weekend. He was going to prove you wrong. And so he just tried that tactic with everybody. And like with Nathan, he had to just have a blowout with him and go, dude, I don't function like that. If I'm not doing something well, tell me, we'll make a plan to fix it, but don't scream at me. It's not helping. I'm putting enough pressure on myself. You don't got to try to motivate me. And so I think that was like and I've had this conversation with Mitch. That was sort of a moment where Mitch kind of, okay, I need to kind of cater how I'm handling each of these kids. They're kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but ultimately, like looking back, I mean, regardless, the investment he had made in the building was like,
oh no, huge.
And also, it's like his main source of marketing is the team.
Yeah.
So like, how are you going to be successful in this business without your team doing well? I get it.
Yeah. No, and listen, I love Mitch. I think he is one of the best dudes in this sport. It's not even close.
For sure.
Just human beings.
He's one of the most honest people you come across in the sport by a lot. You might not like what he says exactly, but you appreciate that you got the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Maybe not right then.
Right then. Maybe not right then.
Maybe it's weeks down the road.
Yep.
You did, so 99 you won a race, Millville, right?
Yep.
Where the heck is it? Right here. Tell me about that. That was, big moment. You'd had some podiums, but tell me about the win.
I remember the first race at Glen Helen, I came in pretty ready, and I think I got second.
Did you ever win any motos prior to that?
No, but I had led a bunch at Glen Helen, and then I think I led some at Redbud that same summer. And that was I think when Volan came back from the GPs, and he had already, I didn't realize he had that much experience. Yeah. He was winning motos in the 250 GPs and came back and raced us. Because I'm like, who is this bum? Right, with his jersey cut off.
Legit.
Jersey cut off and whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, three laps to go, and this dude is coming from, I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch the wakeboard boat tomorrow, dude. But yeah, he made it difficult. And then, I think it was just a long summer. And then it was a lot of it's sometimes, especially in the 125 class at that level, there was a lot of us that were pretty good then. Yep. So it was really start dependent, to be fair.
Yep. I feel like it's still that way. The 125 class or 250 class now, it's the same. You get a 20th place start, struggle bus, right? But you can hole shot and you could run a podium speed. There's 10 or 12, 15 guys that can probably do that. If they hole shotted, they can finish in the top 5.
Yeah.
But if they start 20th, they aren't making the top 10.
Yeah, so I had some podiums, a lot of 5 to 7s, but that was days where I rode awesome. But I mean, I think I got a good start and was up front at Unadilla and did a big front flip. So I'm just still learning.
Yeah.
But I definitely like was making the progress in which I felt comfortable with. Like I thought, like I think even Vegas Supercross. I think we battled. You led.
I led. I was actually.
I think we passed each other back and forth a little bit at the beginning because you did the triple off the tabletop. Vincent was showing me the other day.
Yeah. Okay. So I wrote it right here.
Yeah.
Because I don't really remember. I need to probably go watch the video. But you and I were up front in the shootout.
Yeah, I think either you hole shot or I hole shot, and you either passed me right away or something happened. And we went back and forth a couple times, and then we were super close, but pretty like had a decent gap.
Yeah.
On the rest, it was maybe like lap 4 or 5 ish, and then you got a little bit like sideways in the whoops, and I don't know if you tipped over or I hit you, and we both crashed.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, like out of we were 1-2.
Okay, I remember I crashed in the whoops. I don't know.
Yeah, we were 1-2. Like you got a little bit sideways, and I hit you. And we were piled up, and then Ramsey won, and that was a close one. Like, cause where we were, Ramsey was fast, but we like were out.
There was a jump I was doing.
Yes, it was like off a tabletop. So it was like a jump onto a shelf, and you basically like jumped off of it. I don't know if you threed off of it or what it was. Even when I watched, I'm like, yep, bike's too lean, ain't hitting that. I would have been laying right there.
I just remember, like, I got this jump in my pocket. I want to smoke these fools. And then.
Because I think I was leading and you passed me on it.
Okay. Well, yeah. I got to go watch it, I guess. So it's on YouTube somewhere, I guess.
Must be, because Vincent was talking about it the other day. Because the one thing I remember is us battling for the lead, and then my brother coming down to the podium and shaking his head like, bro, you had it. And I'm like, because he's very, like, he's pretty thoughtful. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, really? Like you're not like overconfident. You thought that I may have been able to win that, possibly? Cool. He's younger than me, even. Yeah. I'm like, all right, I guess I must have been doing good.
Yeah. You still got on the podium?
Yeah, I think I got second or third.
Where the hell was I? Let's see, Supercross here, Vegas third. Yeah, nice work. Look at you. And then you were with Michigan in 2000, right?
Yep, and then 2000, like I said, it was. I went to.
And 2001. Correct?
Nope. 01, I rode Yamaha Troy.
That's right. Okay. So in those Mitch years, was there a year the bike was better than others, or was it pretty good all years? And how do you think it compared to like other race teams' bikes?
I think it was totally fine. It's what I was used to as well, because I rode it as an amateur. And really, to be fair, I probably couldn't have made riding in Michigan work unless I had ridden Team Green ahead of time, because I had so many of the bikes and parts. Because it wasn't like people wanted me to leave and ride. They wanted me to be supervised. Right. So it's not like it was now. They're like, oh, you have a place where you're going where we trust. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not getting paid that much. I didn't say that, but I'm like, I can't really afford to live here and do this. I'm going to go back and ride where I ride. And then the bike that I would get sent there would, like, maybe a mechanic would come, maybe it would blow up, maybe I'd bring the engine to the race and it'd get fixed.
It was probably just pipe and silencer, right?
Yeah, but it was like, I mean, so a lot of times I would, because at that point the frames would stretch and so the cylinder studs would break. So that was like a very common problem, understanding that my frame was old too, right?
Right.
So there was like, I mean, shoot, one day a week at least, I would ride Stanton's stock Honda CR125.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I remember throwing a tantrum one time, throwing my bike down in the woods. And Stanton looked at me like, better pick that up, boy. I'm like, fair enough.
Let me just walk this back.
And then obviously, like, I'm assuming my dad would fix it, right? These are just details. When you're 17, you're like, I don't know. Stuff just happens.
What were you making that first year?
The first year I rode, that was obviously on some level of amateur pro contract, in which, like, I was on a pro contract because I didn't not race any.
Okay.
But I was like I was basically, Kenny G told me if I didn't show up at Charlotte, I might not race the outdoors. It's obviously not his position to tell me that. But I'm like.
The weekend of, he said that?
No, yeah. At Charlotte Supercross, the one that I told you I led and got second, or was in second, then DNF. And I'm like, okay.
Well, Mitch was notorious for, like, not paying you. I think my first contract was $25,000. And Ricky's was 30, you know. In 97, Ricky got paid $30,000.
No, my first year I got $12,000, $1,000 a month.
Which might have been the amateur / pro deal, right?
Totally, but I don't know how, like.
Right? Isn't that crazy that he could even.
Well, but
who can live on that?
All my stuff was all through Cowie, to be fair. I never, ever had a direct deal with Pro.
No, all the contracts were through Cowie, but that was kind of what they would do for the. back then it was a real Team Green / Mitch hybrid.
Yep.
Right. And it's now a little more
But I think
delineated.
I think even then, until I was 18, I think I got 2 times the amount of per diem because I had to bring a guardian.
Oh.
So I got more expense money than I did pay. Which, fair enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, you know, you're happy to have it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So 99 was a good season for you. Not only did you get the win, but like podiums, second at Glen Helen, third at Vegas, third at New Orleans. Like you had a lot. It was a good season.
Yeah, that was a good one. I worked super hard that year. Wow.
So you did some 250 Supercross in 2000.
Bro, I think back at this because there's a guy in Europe that I remember Mitch talking about back then because we like did a bunch of testing on the 250 and they put this crank in there and I'm like, whoa, what did you like? This thing is crazy smooth, but wow, it's fast. Because like the Husky 85 has like a notorious problem with the crank bearing.
Okay.
So I asked Mitch about this particular guy by name.
Okay.
And he's like, oh yeah, let's get a hold of him. So we call him. And we got cranks and crank bearings and stuff from this guy from Europe that made stuff for us on Pro Circuit, like when we rode there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The dude's like in his 80s. I mean, I'm talking we got like 150 hours out of a crank and crank bearing on a Super Mini.
Is Mitch still buying stuff from him?
Mm-hmm. But I'm like, hey, what about this guy? Yeah, let's get a hold of him. It's funny. Just because it's just like we talk about with my kids stuff. Like I couldn't say if I lived in Michigan, moved to California, moved to Florida, I'm not gonna do that because like this has already been in my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, for me to do it again, like I'd have to have my kid be like from out of the womb, be like, this is what we're doing, and grab me by the shirt. But my kid couldn't be any closer to grab me by the shirt.
It seems like
But we also live in a place where it's convenient. Like we would go mini bike night. We would go wherever, like after work.
Yeah.
Or, my daughter's not sacrificing what she wants to do because the gym here is super, super good. Or Donovan's not doing something different. You know what I mean? We're not catering to just Vincent. We just happen to live here.
Yeah.
And it works out conveniently to where like he's not falling too far behind.
Has that been a conversation? You guys moving to Florida or something? That seems like the trend.
I mean, like with Vincent's racing, at some point, if we're going to support him as a family, that's if depending on what the opportunity he has, like we're going to have to be open to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like again, it's just I don't necessarily want to uproot my family by any means.
Yeah,
but again, that's just a bridge we'll cross when it's time. But again, it's definitely different. I guess it's not that much different because everyone just had to live here, essentially. Like we were talking about. I was able to make it work because, one, maybe I wasn't getting paid that much, so they understood that I needed to go to Michigan. Or obviously I grew up there, and then there was some level of Jeff Stan influence that they felt confident with, which is definitely a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
For
sure.
Sure.
All right, 2000 season. So you started some 250 stuff.
Yeah, so that's what I was getting at with the parts because I did a bunch of testing. Mind you, I'm 19. I've raced 7 Supercrosses before.
Yeah.
They're like, yep. So I think I raced two Supercross. I don't know. I made the main at 2. I remember coming back from the hot lab being like, dude, I can't get this thing in neutral. So I had to shut it off. And then they had a quad. They had a quad at one of the Anaheims. Did you race 125?
Yeah.
I hit LaRocco in the air on it on the first lap.
Quadding it?
No, yeah, because you know how when you're an experienced rider, you check up a little bit before the jump so you have room. He checked up. I'm like, what's he doing? I'm going by. Dude, that was like third gear wide open on that 250.
I never did it.
It's like 85 feet, dude. I like locked bars with LaRocco. I'm 19. Locking bars with LaRocco on the first lap, probably not the best move.
Oh my god.
But I'm like, what's he doing, dude? I got to hit this.
This clown checked up.
This
I'm
clown
going.
checked up.
Watch me send this. I'm gonna rock his.
That's all I remember is like being like around, like doing pretty decent, like surprising myself that I made the main and was like around 10th ish for most of the race. But then I vividly remember locking bars LaRocco on the quad.
I thought it was Anaheim 2 that year.
I got 11th.
You got 11th, dude.
Look at me go.
Oh yeah, Anaheim 2.
Wow.
Yeah, that was it.
That was the time I locked bars LaRocco.
So, for people that don't know what we're talking about, it was a triple, but then they took from the third one, they just added like another roller. And I think Danny Smith was the only 125 doing it.
It was a 3.53 out of the turn. Do you have some crazy vivid memory about racing stuff?
Oh yeah. My wife gets mad all the time because I'll be like, oh yeah, like that triple step down at Binghamton. Oh, there was a rut and it had a rock right on the edge. And she's like, hold on. So you're going back to like 90 something and you remember the texture of the dirt on a track. But but I won't remember like something important.
No, basically anything else.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's
so
me.
Yes,
that's me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, obviously this was important to us.
Yeah.
But if there was out of home base, there was a 353, like a seat mounts triple.
That Anaheim
yes,
one?
that one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. Because I'm like, just 353, click third in the air, and then like it was like wide open in third gear on a 252 stroke, which
normally you're doing triples in second.
So that's a massive jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I was like, what am I doing?
No, the video of the guys doing it, it's like it looks absurd.
Yeah, I'm just picking on myself for knowing exactly like the gear and like what was the obstacle before it. Obviously, it scared me, so I'm like,
yeah. Well,
I'm
your life's literally on the line.
I'm locked in still.
Yeah, still. You could go do it right now, eyes closed, and lock bars with Mike.
Yeah.
So those went great. Like that was a good showing for you.
Yeah, and then I think like Supercross, I got some podiums and outdoors podiums, but overall it was like I was a super letdown for me because I was like expecting to win myself. But I went to Wyndham's in the off season and rode with him a bunch down there. I don't know. At that point, we had like I was becoming more aware of the motorcycle, and I was aware that like the lean pop was really, really, really bothering me. Like even that jump you were talking about in '99, where I was like, I didn't say that out loud to anybody, but I would have jumped if it would have ran cleaner for me. But I just knew that it was going to bog. So like, I would build at that place where we talked about at the Smith's farm. I built like a double and then a triple, basically with the landing was a tabletop, so I could get used to trying to hit a Supercross jump in second. This was on my outdoor track. This was how important like the Supercross was. So on my outdoor track where I'm doing 30s, I had like a double and then something where I could try to see if I could get between second and third, because if you can't get to third on a triple, you couldn't hit it most of the time. But if I could, like at that point, Pastrana was coming in and I could see he's doing whatever. I could like count the gears and I'm like, he's second. But I'm like, there's no way I can do that. I don't think so. I'm trying to figure out how to. And then before the season in 2000, I asked Mitch, I'm like, hey, I really want to use the stock carburetor. And then he like lost it.
Oh, he did?
Well, I mean, I'm a 19-year-old telling him what parts to put on the bike.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm like, I can't do what I need to do. So then I got stitches in my chin. One, I cased a triple and I couldn't talk because I like hit my throat so hard. There was just a lot of things that frustrated me that were my own doing.
Was it a bog or was it a lean?
It's just lean. So like when you get it under a load, or maybe because there's a lot of things like I probably should have done, because even on like when my kid was on a 50 then 60 and doing jumps, I'm like, you cannot rev it in the air, because before that it would like run out of fuel. And so I probably did it to myself because I'm nervous of like it, hitting the next jump. So I'm just wide open in the air before I shift. So I'm probably like taking all the gas out of the float bowl. And so there's none in there. So it's probably not even the jetting, it's me. Right?
Either way, it's terrifying.
Either way, that's
four-stroke guys will never get this.
That's what happened every time. So whether it's in a rhythm lane or whatever. And so, but I ultimately had a bad attitude going into that season because I already had made these, try to be prepared as to like what gear I was comfortable in by like practicing this the entire off season, or the summer before, just planning for this because I already know it's a problem, right?
Yeah.
And then Mitch and I get into it huge, which I understand, because he's like, bro, you're like, who are you to tell me what parts I'm running on my bike, guy?
Yeah.
Because at that point there was, these were some special parts we had, and there wasn't practice bike race bikes, not even close to the same then those days. Yeah. So I'm like two different bikes, and I'm like definitely a comfort guy, definitely an overthinker guy. So there's like a lot of things like that where I definitely self-sabotage myself, where like I think I won some heat races and whatever, and then just blew it in the main. Like I think at St. Louis I won the heat race, and I frame cased a triple multiple times and got fourth. I rode home with Randy Valade home after the race. Didn't even come back to California.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I left my bike leaning against the starting line scaffolding, and because I had to get stitches in my chin. But it's like this is all on me.
Yeah.
These are all problems that I created in my own mind because I was like, I have to win because I was trending.
Trust me, dude. I've been there.
I know you, but this is all like, I can't believe I remember this stuff. These are like.
But the thing is, and I tell my wife this when she gives me crap at it, I said, look, you have to be that locked in because you're your life is on the line.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't know that it's third gear, then you come up short on the quad and it's a trip to the hospital, you know? So yeah, it's burned in there, you know? I think any racer is the same way.
Yep.
But this is, you know, I don't know that people will understand that stress of, okay, your first year, it's a building year. You're a rookie. Just learn. Okay, the next year, okay, you got some podiums. Now you're getting a feel for it. You're running at the front. Time to win.
Yeah. Well, I led some laps.
Yeah, and then when you don't win, it's like that pressure, even if your team is being cool, the pressure you're putting on yourself, it's like it can be debilitating, and then you get worse, and then you know, it's like this spiral.
And then it's kind of like obviously I worked for years with Adam Cianciarillo, and it's always like, and then I've always been really close to Villapoto because his first year racing pro, like we trained together with RL, and so like on some level I mentored him with his riding and stuff. So and like close to the family still.
Yeah.
So it's like I would say that his determination, Ryan's, like he just blocked out thoughts, like negative thoughts, because he was like, it's no option because I have to do this. Whereas like if you're like very logical, and I wouldn't say more intelligent because I do think that Ryan is very intelligent and in his own way, but in certain ways, if you're too locked in as to what can happen, you're just going to keep thinking about what can happen.
Yeah.
Just like the story we talked about before where you were like really elaborated on it. I try to not even like let my mind get that far that way. But people are just different. But like the more you can be positive in your mind and focus on the task at hand, but that's kind of, from what I see, that is the determining factor.
And I don't know if that's a skill or just a trait that some people have and some people don't. I'm like you. I overthink. Yeah. I'm like, I wish I could just turn my brain off. And it hindered me a lot in my career.
But it also made you a great rider. So there's like focusing on the details that it took to get to that point. But if you're going to go from like being absolutely great to like one of the sports all times, you got to just be able to shut it off. But it's also at that point, like we talk about the family support. Like you and I's family didn't necessarily have the means to go with us all the time. So they weren't like necessarily managing us day to day. So we're like, hey man, this mechanic I had for this 6 months is different than the mechanic I had last 6 months. For our own survival instincts, we gotta like, we have to take on these tasks by ourselves. Yeah. Which at that point, it's like pretty complex.
So when you're coaching with these guys now, you know, you said that ability to turn off the overthinking and Rhino talks a lot about this, which think what you want about Rhino. A lot of his foundational stuff, it's rock solid.
Yeah. It's just it's blocking out the negative and focusing on the task at hand.
Yeah. And he'll talk a lot about if you have this negative thing in your head, what could happen, you'll manifest it. It will happen. Yeah. Worst case scenario or best case scenario, it's distracting you from focusing on what could happen on the positive side, right? Yeah. But way easier to say, very difficult to put into practice.
Because I would say like from 99 to 2000, I was for sure better. I was definitely a stronger athlete and I was more experienced, but I wasn't even close to as the level I was in 99 as I was in 2000.
Do you deal with that with Adam, with Cameron, with the guys that you coach? Like, do you guys work on that? Is that something, have you found like a way to get past that, get through that?
I think that's like definitely like probably one of my strongest attributes as a trainer and coach is just like focusing on what's important. Right. Because you can get down any rabbit hole and like really the monotonous stuff that doesn't feel like you're doing that much in the moment is probably the most important. Like the fundamentals. Yeah. Right. And then just stick to that. And then over time, you can make some small changes to whether that's like a small bike change that would help you with these specific, it's because really for you and I, when you're in it, it's very hard to say like, hey man, that one turn over there, if you could be like half a bike length better over there in that rhythm lane and a little bit better at the end of those whoops into that corner, that's all you need. We'd be like, I'm going to need a new tire. I'm going to need a new bike. I'm going to need a new mechanic. I hate this guy. This practice track is trash. Yeah. It's like way closer than you think.
Interesting.
Which you would have to agree with that.
Yeah, totally.
Because it snowballs into like everything's got to go.
Yeah. It's, dude, the game at that level, it's so mental.
Yeah, and really like I just broke it down out loud. I was basically beat myself before I even showed up in 2000 by even building a jump that was I'm basically planning to have an argument with.
Let me see if I can
all
make
of
my bike
99
pop.
all of 99 when I'm like working on doing pretty well, I'm already making my own problems for 2000. June 99 when I'm like doing well and almost won a race and led some laps, I'm already making myself bad into 2000.
Yeah. That's the negative side of overthinking.
Yep.
You know? Do you have any good Mitch stories? What's your favorite Mitch story?
To be fair, dude, I was like always pretty focused on myself, and then I was, obviously trying my very best to be the best version of me, which is like very different than what I would be around with the team. Like, cause I was from such a supporting family, and I was always like so determined because I, didn't ride in the winter, and like just things were like, I would just do poorly at the Texas races, show up at Loretta's and be ready. So it was so different for me. Like I just tried my very best to not engage.
Oh, really? You just sort of stay in the shadows?
Yeah.
But you never had like out to dinner with him? I mean, he was like a walking entertainment.
Well, I mean, like we went to the Bercy Supercross, I think end of 97 maybe, and Bundy put Bundy put mustard all inside of his coat jacket. He put his coat on it, had mustard on his entire arm. I'm like, wow, that is a dick move. But then you hear about like, him putting out a cigarette on Bundy's arm or something. And Bundy's got like, look at this, dude. I've had a scar for 6 months. Yeah. But I mean, stuff. And then like the one thing, I guess it must have been probably in 2000. He sent everybody on the team some running shoes. And I was like, dude, I can't possibly do any more. I literally can hardly keep my eyes open during the day because I'm like way overdoing it here.
Mitch sent everybody running shoes?
Triggered, dude. Triggered. So mad. Well, I mean, Jimmy Perry sent like a letter in there talking about maybe put these to use. We won't fade so much. Sent the same thing to everyone. And that I said something to Nathan about it, and he's like, I put a spark plug in an envelope and sent it back to him. And NGK one said, maybe put this in the bike. I'll be able to finish a moto. I'm like, ooh, that would have been a good one.
That would have been legit. I would bet you that was Jimmy. That wasn't even Mitch.
Well, for sure. But I mean, at the time, I'm like so discouraged in myself. I'm like, oh gosh, I knew they hate me. But I mean, I'm like pretty young too. I mean, I had no worldly experience at all.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like this was all new for my parents. Like it's
really?
not like I had like any guidance as to like, hey man, just stay focused on yourself. They just want what's best for you.
Yeah. What were they saying?
They were just like, I don't know, man, you're doing awesome. I'm sorry that they're upset with how you're doing because it just felt that way. Regardless, like, cause it's not even that anyone is outwardly like, hey, bro, you're blowing it. It's just that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Right. And so like it would be like they would just continue to encourage and they would just not really engage with like what would be negativity or really even like to say too much because they know they're not an expert in that area.
Yeah.
So I did everything I could do is just work hard. And
I feel like our parents were very similar. Like when I signed with Mitch.
Well, I can tell that just from knowing you. My
dad was like, awesome. He knows way more than me. Like I'll be in the stands cheering, dude, like whatever you need. But like he wasn't in the pits going, hey, this line, you need to, he was like very, I've done what I could do. Like good luck, go for it.
Yep.
Always very supportive, but like he wasn't involved. Right. And I don't know what he would have even said.
Well, but even if, like, to be fair, like we talk about these parents that would have supported these greats, I don't like unless you're you and I, you don't really know how discouraged that is. Mm-hmm. It's not like the teams are like, hey, Mr. Way, Mr. Pingree, what do you think? It's basically like, bro, know your role, stay in the stands. Mm. It's because especially at that point, we're coming on just behind like Renard's mechanic is his dad's, LaRocco's dad's his mechanic. So we were like in a time where it wasn't very like, hey man, what does your family think about this?
Right.
That
was kind of what they expected.
Oh,
parents
they
go to the stands.
They were very, very, very like. So then it made because I remember getting into it with my dad a couple times about like him working on the practice bike, like acting like he's doing it wrong, because the pro circuit mechanics wanted it done a certain way, and he's like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. I'm like doing the best that I can. Like if you want to have it buffed out, I'm just trying to make sure it runs.
Yeah. There wasn't a lot of. I totally know what you're talking about. In '97, I had that season with Mitch where I just felt like I was not performing. And then it made it worse that Ricky was winning everything, which you were still experiencing in '98. It's like you can't complain about the bike or even say, hey, if I could maybe do better if it was this. Well, Ricky's, winning everything.
Yeah, it comes down to just self-sabotage on some level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then really
And then you get in your head and, anyway. Okay, so 2001.
Yeah, so at the end of 2000 there, really
what happened?
It came down to like me being super sure because I could see that the Yamaha Troy bikes were strong. But I could also see on every obstacle that I was like really nervous of that they weren't. So I was like, I don't even care if it's faster. Because remember, like Lido hit the quad in the corners. Stuff like that where I'm like, dude, I cannot let off and then go wide open without this thing bogging. No way I could do that. That same exact. So it's the entire time I'm there. But it's probably the way I was riding, to be fair. I don't know. But
no, there was definitely something to it.
Well, I'm just not going to be negative like it's not me. But it was definitely a problem.
It was a problem.
For the way that I rode.
Because when I went to Suzuki in 99.
Todd Brown stayed at my parents' house. I rode your bike a fair bit.
It's good, right?
That was good.
Good.
So like he'd come back from the race and I'd be like, let me ride that a little bit before he worked on it. And I'm like, wow, dude, this thing is fast. Not that, because
it wasn't like,
because at that point, like I only knew Cowies.
Yeah.
So I was like opening my eyes to like what something else could be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I think of Suzuki's as being trash. And this thing is amazing.
It was not only fast, the thing that was great about it, it was clean.
Yeah.
Not a fart, not a pop, not a hiccup ever. So what does that do for your confidence?
So I knew that from riding your bike a little bit. So then I'm like, I have got to get a bike that runs clean. Because like at that point I had already would have been what, 99 and 2000. I'm like, I'm going to point out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I'm going to give my best chance of winning, and I can't do the obstacles that I'm capable of on this bike. So like when it came time to do something else, I had like, I could have rode Suzuki, I could have rode Honda, and I could have rode Yamaha Troy. I took way less than half the money that I could have got from the other ones and rode Yamaha Troy.
Think it was a good call. Like, what was that bike like? I never got to ride one. It was like the one team I didn't ride for.
Well, so it was tough because when you're in there with Mitch, like he's obviously trying to push you to do better. So, but when it came time to not ride for him, I was shocked that he really cared that I didn't ride for him. I mean, he called me like a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
To stay on the bike in 01, and I was like shocked that he wanted me. So it felt really, it would have been much easier for me to have him like fire me.
You would have preferred he go, okay.
Well, because I like, even at that point I was frustrated with the situation, just because of this one issue. But I definitely really like appreciated him and looked up to him.
Respected
him. So
I
really didn't want to let him down. It would have felt better for me to have him not want me on there. But like I was like I can't. I have to move on. I'm sorry. So it was like super tough for me.
Was that in person? That
well, I was in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So like I got a new practice bike like at the end of outdoors.
Oh yeah, he was
with
a
powder coated frame. Like this was like the best bike I remember the last time I rode it being like, I can't believe I'm leaving. This bike is sick. Because my practice bike was like my race bike.
Okay, so you get on the YOT bike.
Get on the YOT bike. So that was the same year they had the Yamaha, the 250F.
01, yeah.
So then
Did you have an option to ride that?
Nope, but I didn't care.
Okay.
Because it was like I can make that.
Yeah, it was Ernie and Nathan, right?
Yep. So I'm like, I can make that other bike work, no problem.
Yeah. That 125 was a missile, right?
Okay. So then I get on there, and then everything's like super smooth, and then I don't know, I couldn't really ride that much without the transmission braking. So I don't know if they just didn't get new parts for the 125 because they got all this 250F stuff, or they couldn't keep up with it totally. But I literally I could ride it 3 days in a row, and then the transmission would break. So I rode the 250 a lot, the 250 a lot, heading into Supercross. Then I started the season in 01 on the 250, and I raced most of the West Coast rounds on 250. I think I was like 6th or 7th in the series when it went east.
Wow.
I was doing like super well. I mean, I'm like battling like Ezra Lusk and such when they weren't like up front. I'm like, wow, I'm pretty decent.
I am okay at
like
this.
I'm getting out of the heat race.
I'm a supercrosser.
Yeah, I'm like getting out of the heat race.
Yeah.
But I told you, I didn't ride the 125 that much because the transmission would break.
I think I remember Ivan telling me about that. It would have been 03.
He rode the year after me.
But he was saying it blew up a lot on him too. maybe he was talking about the transmissions.
But,
Interesting.
yeah. So then Supercross, I did decent. I think won some heat races. I think I got second at Minneapolis. But it was like Pastrana was super fast. Nathan was super fast on that 250. Mike Brown was super fast that year.
That was a tough season.
On Mitch's bike.
Yeah.
I think I got fourth in the series, but I rode really well. But I pointed out, and like,
So-
it was a conscious point out because I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I shouldn't have. My grandma passed away. I went to Michigan the week before for that, and then flew to St. Louis. And I remember crashing in the first turn. I crashed with my friend Randy Valade in the first corner, and then I was like riding like an animal because I'm like, got to win this, do something. Cleaned him out on the backside of a dragon's back, crashed him again, dislocated his shoulder, best friend. And then I'm like, I already crashed twice, so I'm like consciously get 12th or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to do here. I guess I don't race 125s anymore. I remember riding around out there being like, I don't know.
Okay, so I want to drill down on this a little bit, and this is the SKDA style segment. They're one of our partners. If you guys need graphics, check out SKDA. Awesome company, incredible customer service, incredible design. These guys are amazing. So in 01, you switched to YOT. You point out of this 125 class, and at the time, the rules changed 100 different times, but it was 3 years in a row of 100 points or more, and you pointed out.
Yeah.
So, and I've taken my share of grenades for doing this, but a lot of guys did it at the time.
Good move.
If that third year, for me, 01, would have been my third year because 99, 2000, I was good points. So 2001, I was riding for KTM, which that bike was not great. Mm-hmm. But I even said going into the last round, I was like, whatever. I would have pointed out if I finished top 6 or something like that, right? 7, 10, whatever the hell it was. I said, look, if I'm in contention to win, I win. I go. But otherwise, if it's like it's not happening, pull her in. Just keep my options on. Why would I go just point out and like cut my opportunities? And
totally. Like if I would have been smarter with it, it would have changed the trajectory of my career. Because I just was basically on a privateer path from then on, kind of. Obviously, I had like some opportunity, but it was like so difficult for me. I mean, I don't regret it. I would say it definitely changed things for me. I mean, I'm 20.
Yeah, you're a kid, dude.
I'm 20, and I crashed twice in that race. I think it was the last race of the series.
I remember thinking, and I maybe even asked you at the time, like, dude, are you gonna point out, like,
This is also partially like
because Sellards did it. I mean, like a ton of us did it. I get blasted, Well,
because Mitch is like obviously a big influence of me because he's like obviously. I look up to him as a kid, and he was like, hey, this is what the level is that's expected on my team. And then that felt like that was where my level should be, right? So I have him in my ear. And then Jeff Stanton had never, ever, ever had much respect for the 125 class because he had obviously won a bunch in the big bike class. And he's basically like, I can hear him being like, don't need it. Get in the big bike class. That's the one that matters anyways.
What was Mitch saying?
I wasn't even on his team.
Right.
But I just hear him talking shit about others, right? So this not really. He's just basically like I knew what his opinion would have been. But again, it was just a bad play for me, straight up.
Really? So if you could go back and redo it,
but the thing is I remember at the first race, the first 2 East Coast rounds, I'm picking the gate for the heat race, and I'm in opening ceremonies out there by the pie stand. So I'm like, I'm still top 10 3 races into the East Coast series in the 250 class. So I'm not like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Because I had done really well. But to be fair, that 250 2-stroke Yamaha was amazing.
Yeah.
I basically raced it stock, basically. And it like Dean Baker did the engines, and he did a great job making it like rideable for me. And I rode it pretty well. I mean, obviously, if I believed in myself, I could have done even better. But I'm like, it's not like this is the end of the road for me.
Yeah.
So I was like,
open to it.
I was open to it.
Now that I see like your results in the 250 class, it made more sense to me.
But it made it really difficult on myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is you were at St. Louis. You'd already crashed. Like, why not just go? Hey, I kind of hurt my.
No. I rode around the whole time thinking, I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Because you still could move up.
But there was just a lot of factors in my life. Like at the moment, I was just like bummed.
Yeah.
Because I made this move that I didn't want to make from Mitch's team to a better bike, still didn't perform. So I'm like,
Well, so I guess my point of all this was, I thought it was super ballsy. I remember either having the conversation with you, or you did an interview or something. You just said, yeah, I'm moving up. And I was like, wow, because at the time, what people don't understand is like the only way you got a 250 ride was winning a 125 championship.
Yeah.
That was my only goal. It wasn't like I wanted to be a 125 lifer. At the time, the only way you got a 250 ride was to win a 125 Supercross or outdoor title.
Yep.
Period. Like the only guys I can think of, and I put it on here, the only guys I can think who didn't do that was Weston Pike, who was just too big. Like he literally couldn't ride a 125. And Heath Voss, who wealthy family, so they were able to fund him pretty well. And then he, to his credit, World Supercross Championship. And I think he ended up on a factory Yamaha ride at one point, right?
Yep.
Can you think of anyone else who moved up as a privateer without a title and earned a factory ride outside of you three? I mean, I can't. I thought through it and couldn't think of anyone else. It's a very, very road less traveled.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like Short moved up, but he obviously was factory to factory. Short.
Didn't Andrew win it? He won an outdoor.
I think
he won a 250 outdoor title though, or 250F.
I'm not sure.
I'm almost positive.
I'm not totally sure on that one. Obviously, he was. Those guys were pretty loyal to him for sure because he was like a workhorse for them.
Yeah.
So regardless, he deserved a shot, obviously.
Anyway, it was to me, I was like, this guy's got some balls. Good luck, like.
Yeah.
And
that's what I was thinking myself too. Yeah.
To your credit, you did it, man. Like your results, what you did past that on the big bikes.
Yeah, but
it was really impressive.
Yeah, thank you. But to be fair, like I was a lot of the like my dad working so much, and then us trying to chase the amateur stuff. Like there's some races we had to go to. We went to Muddy Creek. I think it had to have been right around like in the middle of June because that's when my birthday is. I just turned 15, and we had to go to Muddy Creek, and I just had got my permit on the day of my birthday.
Okay.
And my dad just had gotten back from work and was like, I had all of us, I had us loaded up motorhome and trailer, and he drove us like 2 hours and was like, hey, I got to take it. Like if you want to take over and try, I can watch you. Next thing you know, he's on the couch behind me,
sleeping.
And like I driving like through the mountains in Tennessee, and he's like hops up and's like, hey, slow down. I'm like, hey, this semi's gonna pass me, dude. I'm gonna blow by me on this uphill. And last time he almost blew me off the road because of like the wind. No. He's like, you're gonna like if something happens, we're crashing because like this is a little motorhome and the big trailer.
Okay.
So like I'm 15, just turned 15, like making it work to get to the races because I mean he supported me the best he could, but it was also like my mom perceived it as a hobby, so she's not like doing anything extra because I have an older sister and a younger brother. It's not like everybody else's life's on hold because of this. So those experiences empowered me to be able to like feel like I could figure it out no matter what, for sure. Those are like the things where with motocross, you're like, what are we doing here? There's like so many instances like that were super empowering for me as a kid because of motocross, regardless of like race results or not, just kind of proving yourself what you are capable of.
Yeah. That's actually a really profound story. And I mean, I don't know if you've thought about that, but when you don't pump a kid full of fear and you let them, go take some risks, like it's crazy what they can do. And then the confidence they'll build from that or the belief in themselves. Right. We were on this vacation one time with my sister and her family. My kids were like 9, 10, my nieces were 10, 11, like young. We were in Belize and they wanted to go scuba diving. Well, down there, they would just be like, all right, here's your regulator. This is your tank. You guys good? Here we go.
Yeah.
There was lionfish. Like our kids almost grabbed a lionfish, which would have killed them. Like no supervision, right? These kids are swimming over around each other, clanking on their tanks on it. I'm just thinking one of them's, and we're down like 40 feet. They kick a regulator out. Like it's a problem. But they all did it perfectly. At 10 years old, scuba dive, a discovery dive, And so like I came away with that same exact thing. Like, gosh, when you just don't, if I would have been like, guys, listen, you could die. Like this is, you know what I mean? You pump them full of all the fear. They might not have done so well.
Yep.
But you just let them go, supervise them the best you can. But like, they'll blow you away, I think, with what they're capable of. like you just did. You're 15 driving a rig.
It's just like we were talking about with like with parenting. Like what's the best move here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you point out. Tell me this was a big moment for you. Was MDK the first year you did? What was your first deal for 250s?
No, so going into 02, I had to ride a big bike.
Yep.
I had a letter of intent signed with Brooks and McGrath because
you did?
Yep.
For the Chaparral Yamaha?
Well, so it was like his own deal, but then they were going to have the Sobe was going to be their sponsor.
Okay.
So before they did it with Suzuki, and then they got the Bud Light deal, and I'm 21.
Okay.
You have to be 23. So they can't turn.
Why?
They can't turn the Bud Light deal down because I have a letter of intent with them. So then I'm like, in end of October, I'm like, so then the Moto Triple X guys helped me. So then I got, which was not bad. Like they paid me. I think I got $60,000, which is more than I got paid from Yamaha Troy. I would say that was like my own choice.
Yeah.
And then Mathis was my mechanic. So that was like, he was very, very capable, but he was like bothered by me questioning him. So he would like kind of make it worse. So, it definitely learned a lot because I was just nervous of him working on my bike, although he did an awesome job.
Okay. So what were they riding that year?
So it was like,
or was that
Kyle
Honda?
Lewis was on a Honda 450.
Okay.
Larry Ward rode 250s outdoor. Kelly Smith rode 250s Supercross.
Okay.
And then Mathis worked out of my garage.
On a Yamaha?
On a Yamaha.
450.
No,
Or
Yamaha
252
stroke.
stroke.
So
Okay.
I already knew that like the bike that I'd ridden before wasn't that hard to like make it to where I was comfortable with. And then that was the first year that like Pro Circuit had suspension to show us stuff on other bikes than Cowies. So I went into Mitch's and swallowed my, made amends with him. And then
Was he salty about you leaving?
well, I was always like straight up with him.
Uh-huh.
And I think we always had like a good relationship. It's just, I was just like searching for something that I didn't think was capable of coming from his,
Right.
I just needed that one problem fixed that I didn't think was going to happen.
Mm.
So then he helped me. So he did the engine, and then Bones did a bunch of testing with me on the suspension. So I even the first time we rode the suspension, I think I had a Cowie front end on a Yamaha.
Oh, really?
Because I could get the Cowie front wheel because of the lugs.
Mm.
So we did like all that development to get the show on the Yamaha. So like that was the bike was pretty good. And then I think problem was we used like Maxxis tires in Supercross, but I got like I think I passed Wyndham on the last lap of the first round for like 6th.
Oh yeah.
With Maxxis tires, maybe 6th or 7th, and I was like, yep, I think I can do this.
All right, let me see where we're at here. Right here, 02. So Anaheim won 7th.
Yeah, but I passed Wyndham on like the last lap to get 7th, and obviously I like look up to him. 2 years before that, I stayed at his house in Mississippi. Like he's a friend of mine.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Maxxis tires, dude. Math is my mechanic.
Those,
out of a box van with like
those
Michael
Supercross
Young
tires are like.
Well, bro, I'm like okay.
Yeah.
So it went decent. I think I got 7th in the series. Then outdoors, I tore my meniscus out at like the Viney's place now, MS Compound, and so it went just okay. And then so I mean, I was obviously not stoked with how it went, but I was stoked to get with the support we had to like make it work. I mean, Anaheim before Anaheim, I'm putting like a rack I'm racking the box van and stacking like oil and stuff.
Yeah,
you
right.
know? So I'm like,
dude, lots of top 10s, all year long, indoors and out. That's you can't. First year in, like
yeah. But I mean, it was more like I just there was just a lot happening.
Yeah,
it wasn't like Yamaha Troy and riding a 250. It was a lot happening.
Yeah.
Like Mathis stayed at my parents' house or my house, so he was driving to every race.
So the Moto Triple X guys, would they give you guys like travel money, expense money, or a card or something, or was it just like, hey, we're going to pay you your salary and good luck?
I don't remember, but I remember talking a lot to Jordan and of like them just about the tires. But then by the time like Kyle Lewis was not injured, then they were on Dunlop like for outdoors. But during Supercross that year, that was the year like a lot of Suzuki guys got injured, and so DeCoster actually tested the Suzuki during Supercross, and then Moto Triple X wanted like a ton of money to let me out of the contract.
Come on,
I swear. So then I like stayed, but I rode the bike and everything.
Was good. That Suzuki 250 then
Yeah,
was really good.
It was super sick. But I mean, I'm like, I was conflicted because I'm like, I really appreciate these dudes stepping up and no one could help me. I don't feel like I can leave them hanging. That's probably not the stand-up thing to do.
Right.
Because I was doing pretty well. Like, I definitely was like, because I obviously wasn't playing into their image. I was definitely doing a pretty good job with like boosting the credibility, like to help them get sponsors, like with consistency.
Yeah.
And then Lewis, honestly, to be fair, rode really well that year too.
He rode well for them a lot.
Yes.
And Larry, didn't he win a race? He won
maybe a moto or something.
Red Bud.
Yeah. And then so like that year, like the group was good. Alan Brown was a mechanic. So that year everything went pretty well for that team. But it was like I said, it was just for me being young and like there was a lot happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I it's hard to keep in mind. You were still like 20 or 21.
Yeah, 21 there.
Very, very young. And you're out, yeah, it's just a lot to take on. All right, so what happened at the end of that year?
And then that end of that year,
you were on Yamaha again.
Well, so I got a contract directly from Yamaha.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And then I wouldn't say it was like a factory, so they gave me a salary and they paid my expenses.
And how were you getting around?
And then
you had your own rig?
That Mach 1 had a semi.
Okay.
So Mach 1 bought a semi. Heath Foss was my teammate.
Okay.
And so then they provided a mechanic, which I had hired Christian Kibbe.
Yeah.
And so I like really trusted him. He's awesome.
He's dialed, yeah.
Dialed. And so during Supercross, we rode a Yamaha. And I guess that was the first year I started working with like the Tucker group that owned Dancer. So that was like the start of that relationship too. And yeah, I don't know. I think I clicked the suspension around. Maybe like I clicked the shock, I think 2 clicks in on the low speed compression. And that's the only thing I did all year.
Is that right?
So I ran Bridgestone tires. They provided me with 3 sets of suspension, which I never changed the setting. I think it was McGrath's stuff that was like something before and they gave it to me.
Mm.
And then I Bridgestone tires, Pro Circuit pipes, Pro Circuit engine. And then which must have been like 1-year-old factory suspension.
Okay.
And bro, I didn't realize what I had.
That was a good setup.
Oh my gosh, dude. Like, I mean, the first couple races though, the very first race must have had too much compression. Piston hit the spark plug in the heat race and they scrambled, missed the semi or something, or maybe one of the two, maybe happened in the semi. And I smashed Heath Voss coming out of the tunnel and going to the finish line, and I high-sided over him, hurt my knee. Didn't qualify at the first one.
Oh, boy.
Second one, same thing happened. My spark plug got loose in the main because it had hit, and it would be intermittent. It would go or not. And then I was like, I can't quit. And I remember pulling onto the berm after the mechanics area, and I roosted the entire mechanics area.
Making friends.
I'm like, oh, my gosh, I'm an idiot. But then it went pretty well. I got like a ton of force. I couldn't. I head on Ernie one time because like I don't know. I was riding like an idiot. I burned the clutch out. So with like 3 laps to go, it'd be I couldn't hit the triple. One time
frying a clutch in one main event.
Yeah, I would go from like the rhythm lane and it'd be a 180 into a Dragon's Back. I head on Ernie one time, talking about I got to get this podium, not you. Head on him.
Hey, sometimes you got to smash into something. There's something about the way you ride. You are on the clutch a lot. You kind of go before you land. You're always like,
but during that point too, right then, I don't know, was Reedy riding? Was Reedy riding like a 250F and a 250? So like I would ride with him a lot, dude, and his intensity at the track was like super high. Okay. So I'm like, and at that point it was like there was a lot of us riding there. And so we would all work on the track together. And then I'm like very observant because I'm like, I could see Reedy had speed. And
was MC on a Yamaha still?
MC rode. I know MC rode that Bud Light team in 02. And I think maybe 03 he was going to ride at KTM.
Okay.
KTM. Was that?
Either way, that YZ250 that Jeremy won on, that Reed won on, like that thing was
phenomenal. Except for the clutch.
Apparently, except for the clutch.
Well, because the next year
were you guys using aftermarket stuff?
I don't know. The next year I rode factory Suzuki, and I literally never even adjusted the clutch one time. But I could go 15 laps, and then it would like literally I couldn't hit the triple.
Wow.
It was definitely how I was riding, because everyone else could make it work. But again, it was just like I was trying to.
You had great you had great numbers this year, man. Like you said, a couple of fourths here, 4 fifths. I mean, like, dude, you were top 10 almost every single race.
Yeah, I was like crazy. And to be fair, Bing, after it left West Coast, I rode in Michigan. There was an indoor track because Kibby's girlfriend lived in Michigan. And so we would work out of my garage, and I just would go to this indoor track, Kibby and I.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Like it had to be like an arena cross thing, right?
Right? I'm like,
But
again, I'm 22, right? So I'm like, yeah, my wife now was going to cosmetology school, and I'm like, yeah, this is where I'm like with her.
Yeah.
But I'm like, obviously no supervision from the team. Bro, I'm riding in a barn, going to the races, and like basically I could have done better than fourth.
Yeah, probably wasn't the best.
Definitely not.
Setup.
But I'm like, that was probably the most comfortable I've ever felt on a bike, though.
Huh.
That bike was sick.
Gosh, I know that was probably a great. Didn't Ezra ride for them? Was it 04?
He rode there in 04.
04, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I still have an 03 YZ250 in case you want to borrow it.
From that,
because the bikes that were given to the team were mine. I sold all but one.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Still got that suspension and everything?
Don't have the suspension. Yeah. I guess we could probably buy something pretty easy.
Probably. Mitch probably has some. Okay, so what's anything stand out from that season? Really good or really bad?
Just confidence from Supercross.
Yeah.
Like outdoors was a bit of a struggle, but looking back and what I know now, I probably had races in or something crazy.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like it was so like sick for Supercross and so poor for outdoors.
Oh, really? You didn't like it outdoors?
Because for Supercross, it came like 4 sets of suspension, like as is, and
ready
it
to
just
go.
got serviced, and I only went 2 clicks in. But then it like obviously the clamps and everything were as a package, so I have to assume now what I know now, it probably had races in. Because from 02 on that Moto Triple X bike, I was night and day better outdoors than I was in 03 on the bike that I was like could crush.
And you guys didn't think to check it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I also dabbled with the 450 then because Yamaha wanted me to ride a 450. But then so Kibby put that together for Glen Helen, and dude, that big tabletop in the back, it shut off in practice. Dude, I was inverted and somehow didn't crash, and I'm like, I called McCarty and I'm like, hey dude, I don't think I can ride this thing very fast. I can definitely be faster on the 250. So I rode it from then on. So it was like a bit of like spent all this time getting the 450 dialed.
Sketchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I don't know if guys still do that. Play with races and offset races to change rate.
Well, I just can't. Trail. I'm sure. Like Kibby was for sure experienced enough to know, but I just in my mind, I'm like, what was the deal there? But it was probably on me.
Okay, so good season though overall. You're at least for Supercross, you got it.
Yep.
How did you wind up with Suzuki 04? That you'd already kind of been riding that bike. Did Roger call again end of the season, or did you call him?
Yeah, I talked to him during outdoors, and he had interest. And then I guess I signed a contract with him like just the beginning portion of outdoors that 03 year.
Okay.
They had a lot of guys injured in 03, and then so 04, I think they just basically got a new team. They got a bunch of like younger riders. I think it was me and Hamlin had done well in 03, I think, outdoors for them. So he got a spot with them for 04. It was him and I on the 250.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I didn't get paid very much from the team, but my bonuses were like exceptional because it was like basically they wanted to make sure you raced. So it was like a paid per point on top of the. So So it was like, it was crazy fair.
Yeah. And I would say, looking through your results, these 20 sheets of results, you were very consistent. You didn't miss a lot of races with injury. You didn't miss a lot of main events.
Yeah.
Like you were very consistent.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think it's like as we know, to do this, you have to like enjoy the lifestyle.
Yeah.
So like the work portion is like, I like that as much as anything.
Mm-hmm.
So to that point, I probably overdid it on the work side, which compromised my results, but again, like probably helped me with my longevity and my durability, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. And Roger loved that, I'm sure. Like he likes the guys that'll grind.
Yeah, so they had hired Todd Jacobs for the team trainer, and I was really the only one who engaged with him too much. So like we did a ton of work that off season, learned a lot from him.
Good guy?
Yeah, super good guy. I know he had worked with Pastrana before, and then he had worked with McGrath, I think, a couple years previous. So yeah, he's a super good friend, and he was opened my eyes because he he did a ton of Ironman triathletes and triathlons, like completed them at a high level. So he was very knowledgeable. Did a lot of volume with him. Supercross, felt super comfortable with the bike. They had Michelin tires, which were a bit of a struggle. And so for outdoors, they switched to Dunlop. But in Supercross, I had some good starts and was super comfortable. But like just in the hard pack whoops like they were then, I went off the track a bunch trying to push it. So that held me back some. And then outdoors was probably one of my most fun outdoor seasons, because that bike was a phenomenal outdoors. I didn't get any podiums. I think I got 6th overall in the points, but it was a super competitive season. I think I got like 5th and 4th a bunch.
Yeah, again, another like a lot of top 5s, pretty much every round top 10.
Yeah.
A couple of bad ones, maybe a little crash there or something, but solid. You know, like that was kind of your whole career, just solid.
Yeah, but then that was the year. So like I think I got top 5 in the Supercross points. Well, actually, the year before Mach 1, out of riding in the barn most of the time in Michigan, New Zealand, I got 4th in the series, which was like sick. I was like,
and was that back when they had a pretty good points fund for you guys too?
Probably.
What were you? I mean, you don't have to answer as you want, but like, what were you making?
Not that much. I mean, I think
all in at the end of the year.
Well, I think that year Yamaha gave me 75, the Mach 1 deal, and then I got expenses from Mach 1 and maybe some other miscellaneous stuff. But back then it was like, you know, we were stoked when you made two grand to make the main in the 450 class.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like a big deal when you're coming from the 125 class where you can make like between 50 and 100, and you make 100 and people are like, you better win every time.
Yeah.
To like you're making 75 and you're clearing like 300 because of the wind stuff.
Yeah.
And like I'm at that point, I'm still getting the privateer money and contingency and all that type of stuff, because I'm not considered factory. Well, I guess 03 I was, because 02 I think I got top privateer. I think I got a truck and trailer and 25 grand. It was like, for me at that point,
killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just was curious what the money was like in that window there.
Yeah, but then starting in like 04 when I rode factory Suzuki, that was like that was like the most money I had made up to that point by a fair bit, because I also had my own gear deal, which then I continued with the Tucker Group with MSR, which was a long run for me. And so that was very helpful. So I needed that year to kind of establish myself with the companies in which supported me through really my rest of my career, to be fair.
Yeah.
But 04 was a good year. Just Carmichael came in the next year, and I kind of had ran them around a little bit with the testing, so they weren't super confident with my testing to start the season. Well, I'm still young. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're like.
So what do you mean you ran them around? Like just.
Well, before the season started, at the end of 03, that's when they went to the unleaded.
Oh.
So then then the team I guess Japan was concerned that they had too much power in the bike for 03. And so the guys got hurt. So they were a little bit like, must have been under the gun a little bit, Ian and Roger, about what the Japanese guys thought about the package they put together. They thought it was too fast. That the riders were getting injured, maybe because the bike was too fast, maybe. So then we did a bunch of testing with.
Well, you rode it. You rode the 03 and the 04, right? So.
Well, so I rode the Yamaha in 03, and then 04. That's when I rode Suzuki, and that was like right when they transitioned to.
Didn't you ride that 03 Suzuki like Roger brought one out? You said.
Well, 02.
02.
Was like a couple years before that. Yeah. So I just.
Was it a rocket? I mean,
it was just we tested a bunch of stuff because they like rearranged how it was made, because obviously it has less compression, I assume, because it's unleaded. And so I ran them down a road that had like less bottom, because I'm like, I don't know, I do a start and I'm like, yeah, some rips.
Yeah.
Because I'm just burning laps.
And that's easy to happen. Rhino did that in 95 on our Mitch bikes because, well, one, he rides just like this, but you get on that hard baked stuff and you're getting wheel spin.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, it feels good.
Exactly. Because we spent like an entire month testing, because I came to California directly after the Nationals. And that's when I like bought a house here. And Nicole moved here with me. Because like I was in Michigan basically the whole Supercross season the year before. Then we bought a house here. Nicole moved with me. And then we were here like in September testing. We tested like September, beginning part of October, and then went to race the U.S. Open. And then after the first night, I'm like, I don't know, dude, I got to be first gear everywhere. So then they were like, looked at me like, So then they put it back to the year before setting and used the leaded gas because they didn't have to use it then. And I'm like, I did super well the second night. And they were like, you ran us down the road. You went us opposite direction where it was. And I'm like, this thing, how it is sick. So then they mirrored that and just basically went that direction for the races.
Okay.
But then they hired Carmichael at the end of 04, which fair enough. And then they needed someone to help test the 4-stroke. And so Tortelli was on the team, and he obviously had a lot of experience, and they must have had more confidence in his testing ability, which fair enough, right? So then that left me hanging. They had two rides. Okay. So I'm like top 5 in Supercross overall, and I think I got 6th outdoors, and I'm homeless.
So was it just you and Hamlin then? Who or they had like
Tortelli also.
Oh, Tortelli also. Okay. And he was probably hurt all year, huh?
Then Millsaps was like 250. And Hepler 250.
Okay.
So there was like, the 2 teams at the time.
Okay. So 05, is this the MDK?
So 05, MDK had a team in 04, and the team manager at the time, Danny Palladino, was super friendly. So we'd have Friday practice, Saturday practice. So I'd talk to him some. And so they had interest. So I spoke with the owner, Mark Kwame, and I was at the time, Mark Johnson was helping me with my agent stuff. And so I put a contract together with Mark Kwame personally, not with MDK, the LLC.
Okay.
So then I kind of set the parameters on a lot of stuff. And so I was like, I felt good. Well, because right here, I'm 24, 25. So I'm like, I've already. Yeah. And I'm like, I've got to get there. Now is the time. So I'm like, this was obviously a huge hit to lose the Suzuki support, but again, like I had made some huge strides with my fitness and my riding. I was way more consistent and way stronger than I had been the years previous.
So do you think at this point, do you feel like you've hit your peak yet?
At this point, I'm like, I got to learn a few more things, but I'm like definitely, because like we talked about, I got 4th in the series, but I closed the gap to the front guys like drastically, which is like, we're talking like small percentages.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, we're trending in the right direction, but now I have no support. So again, like, got the MDK set up like pretty organized to where I felt okay with it. They were more than fair with the compensation portion, and I kept all of my
gear and all that
stuff. So
was that a 4-stroke?
So that started as a either or.
Okay.
So then I started the series on a 252 stroke. Again, Mitch helped out and did the engine and suspension. And I think I started off the series like around 5th a bunch. And then I hurt my knee when it went East Coast. But I was like feeling as if like it was about like, when you're like, okay, it's going to click. Because some of those, like I had crashed in the first turn or like had something crazy happen. Or like actually they had the World Supercross rounds and I went to both of them and I got 2nd to Carmichael pretty like fair. Like I've raced with him a lot. So like I was comfortable with how close I was. Okay. I'm like, okay, I'm making good gains here on a privateer bike.
Yeah.
Well, before that, rewind. So I get fired by Suzuki, and then we're off season. So I like behind, not on the property that I owned, but a friend of mine's property, like just down the road. We had already had like an existing outdoor track that was like not that good. So I'm like pissed, and I'm like motivated, right? Not that I understand. It's business. But I'm like,
still motivated.
But it's like, but it's also like, I'm 25. This is slipping between my fingers. Like, it's like do or die. So I rent a loader, a bunch of equipment, take it out to my friends. I built a Supercross track by myself. Me and another friend helped me.
Yeah.
So MDK, like, he's like, whatever you need. So, I mean, I had bikes and bikes and bikes. Sent to Michigan. Mitch did the suspension. Mike Batista was sending different shocks back and forth. And I had a mechanic that was staying with me too. So I was like grinding.
Okay.
With these bikes that I'm like putting together kind of, which also the Motor Triple X situation helped me too. Just like organize it, right? Because I'm like team managing my own deal. Because at that point they didn't have the structure, but I had the stuff.
Yeah.
So I built the track, went to the U.S. Open, super competitive on this bike that I hadn't really had, like obviously developed myself with these guys that I respected. I think Carmichael's Suzuki, something happened in the clutch. So he was going to win, got 2nd, or he DNF'd, and Reed won. I got 2nd. So I'm like, this feels good. right? Because I built my own track.
Yeah.
With built like a legit track.
Was good? You did a good job?
Yeah, I did. It was sick. Built like a full-blown, like, got a loader, skid steer, dozer.
Okay.
And did like, I mean, I would go home, take a nap, go ride again. Go home, take a nap, ride again. I knew the races were short, so I would do like 7, 10 lappers in a day. I mean, I was grinding, dude. And at that point, like going into there, it can be like 30. So I would like have a water wagon. I'm 25, dude. So I was like, so that felt good.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, hard work's paying off. So then I get into Supercross. I'm like, it's really on now. So then they kind of had like their own track and they would like have the infrastructure, but it wasn't totally dialed. And then I'm like scrapping. I'm battling. So it was like I was right in there where I needed to be. And then I got hurt my meniscus, and then injury clause with all my other sponsors. I had to come back like quickly. And so then, or actually I did my ACL.
Yeah, it looks like you went 6-7, 6-6-7, and then that was February 5th. You didn't come back till May 22nd.
Yeah, but I didn't even race here. I just signed up.
This guy?
Yeah. See, I got 40th. So like I tried because I had to because of the injury clause. So I gave it a go, raced, but then, I mean, this is like I got.
So then that resets the date on the injury clause. Yeah.
So then I could act. This was still pretty quick, dude. From February to June on an ACL. That's pretty. I mean, and I've never even ridden this Honda 450.
Yeah, that's really quick, actually.
So like I ended up finishing the series like okay. I was like stoked to get 5th or 6th at Southwick, my first race back for real, because that was like pretty quick turnaround. And then going into 06, the MDK team did a better job with organization of the team. And to be fair, like it kind of joined with what would have been the Motorsport Outlet team. And so Mark Johnson was now the team manager after being like my agent.
Okay. And he was dialed. That's what I remember is Mark was your team manager or team owner. I didn't know
so
what
at that point. So Danny Palladino, who had helped Mark Kwame get it started, was always involved. But at this point,
you were in the top 10 every single race except for the last one at Glen Helen.
DNF both motos on the hot lap.
What happened?
I have no idea.
The old bike.
This is when I freaked out about. I'd be more competitive if I rode out of my van. That's got Mark Johnson hired.
Okay.
Yep. But then going into 06, like had crazy amount of support because we joined up with the other team. And so Mitch did the full bike, started with the 450. Honda 450 was obviously sick.
Yeah. Okay.
So like things were trending in the right direction. They paid to have our own track, which was the one off of Garbani.
Yep.
In Menifee.
Yep.
And so I had a skid steer and a water truck. And so like I lived down the road. We had one vehicle out here. Nicole would like ride the pit bike down there to get the car. I'm just over there grinding. So it was like a perfect setup for me because I had like a lot of people around that I truly respected, and the bike was phenomenal.
Who were your teammates that year?
So I was the only 450 rider. Kelly Smith rode 250. Paul Carpenter rode 250. Canary rode 250.
I don't remember
Danny
that.
Smith rode 250.
Really?
Yeah. So they rode a Honda 250, and I was the only one on a 450. So I rode out of like the smaller truck, the truck that I still own now. That we parked together.
Okay. Huh.
And so Mark Johnson like oversaw both. And then at that point, with Mitch's involvement, he really trusted Mark Johnson. So I had like a ton of options. And then RG3 did the suspension because they did a ton of business through motorsport. So then with the business tie, because they were like profitable with the arrangement, then Rob was super helpful because he could put time in it because he was making money through.
Yeah. And Rob's dialed. Yeah, that guy's really, really good.
So that was like another phenomenal bike.
Okay. So that was a good season for you.
Yeah, the funny thing though is going into that season, because it was like late to join together and it wasn't totally organized, they didn't have any like 06s together. So they refurbished my bike from the year before, 05, and we shipped it with somebody to Toronto, because remember they had the World Supercross was the 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Well, so if you were a privateer, you could not be eligible for those privateer extra money if you didn't go.
Oh my gosh.
And Mark Johnson's like, I don't care about any of this. Like, we got to be ready for the regular series. So we shipped the bike. RL was my mechanic. RL's my trainer. RL also was pitboarding for me at Toronto.
Yeah, but he's done it.
Totally.
Yeah,
at that point, he didn't want to, right? He's like, this is not my deal. But we're like, it's leaking oil, and we got the 1211 out, and we're like dialing it in. So even though he's like fake, like, oh, this is not my deal, we were loving it. Because then he's out there pitboarding like it is like a normal day. He's like,
yeah, that's great.
Sweating me. So it went well because like Tedesco had moved up. Him and I battled, and we were like pretty 4th and 5th and really close to like
I'm
the
trying
other
to think
guys.
of what that year was. That the one where Stu and Preston came together?
That might have been 07. That was the year later.
Okay. So what happened at this one in Toronto? It was Toronto and Vancouver? Which were the 2 rounds?
No, that was just a notable portion because it was just we were making it work. But then once the races started, we had like great support. But at those ones, it was just I remember RL was like, working on my behalf,
stepping in.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's come back. I want to take a quick break here, and then we'll jump back into 06. We still got a lot of years.
We're going down memory lane here.
I know we are.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
Okay.
Hang tight. This is the Twirly Designs Timeout. We're going to be right back and finish up here with Nick Way. Stick around.
There's a new product on the market that's going to help you with your riding and racing, and it's Elevate Action Sports. If you've not yet gone and checked it out at elevateactionsports.com, it's a collective of riding coaches, the likes of which has never been put together. Grant Langston, Ryan Hughes, Jeff Emick, Johnny Campbell, and myself, David Pingree, bringing all of our years of experience in professional racing to one place with professionally produced videos and all kinds of supporting staff to help you with your mental side of racing, your physical side, your bike setup, your bike maintenance. We cover it all. Get to Elevate Action Sports right now and join the community.
Dunlop. There is a reason every AMA championship in the past decade was won on Dunlop tires. They are the best. Choose the best performing tire and a brand that has never wavered in their support of our sport. Choose Dunlop. Pro Circuit. Pro Circuit products are designed with one goal in mind: winning. Through passion and hard work, Pro Circuit has operated the most successful 250 team in the history of the sport. They use that same formula when developing exhaust, engine, and suspension parts for every brand. When only the highest level of performance is acceptable, trust Pro Circuit.
Since 2009, Seat Concepts has been dedicated to making the best aftermarket seats. More comfort, more grip, more riding. For 10 years, we've continued to raise the bar. Innovation and American craftsmanship make Seat Concepts the world-leading manufacturer of power sports seats.
Something from nothing. That's what Nihilo Concepts is about. It starts with a spark, an idea, a concept, which leads to a design, and finishes with engineered excellence with the highest quality products created with durability in mind. All our products are made in the USA at our state-of-the-art facility in Stuart, Florida. Whether you are a weekend warrior, ride for fun, or at the highest level of competition, Nihilo Concepts offers innovative titanium, aluminum, and carbon fiber parts for your dirt bike. We offer a wide variety of products that you can customize to your liking. Browse our site for foot pegs, brake tips, engine components, specialty tools, frame grip tape, lever grips, carbon fiber components, motor stands, our secondary on-switch, plus much more. Head to NihiloConcepts.com and see for yourself why factory teams like Red Bull KTM, Rockstar Husqvarna, Troy Lee Designs Gas, Orange Brigade, Club MX, KLM Gas, and some of the fastest riders in the world choose Nihilo Concepts.
Specialized Bicycles. Specialized leads the way in the world of bicycling. Whether it's cross-country racing, downhill, e-bikes, enduro, road, gravel, dual slalom, dirt jumping, or all mountain bikes that do it all, Specialized has the perfect ride for you. The brand is synonymous with engineering excellence and innovation that steers the industry. Visit your local Specialized dealer for a test ride and see just how good Specialized products are.
With a rich history in motocross, Pro-X has been dedicated to supplying quality components since 1975. Whether you're rebuilding an engine or just need a new chain, Pro-X Racing Parts aims to bridge the gap between OE quality and affordability. Pro-X has over 9,000 part numbers and over 60 different product types that are manufactured by highly reputable or even OEM suppliers and are offered at affordable prices to help keep riders on the bike instead of in the garage. Visit Pro-X.com to search parts for your bike or check them out at your favorite online or local dealer.
A lot of us have been talking about the Stasic generation of riders, and you forget how quickly things can change in a sport that is as young as motocross. That's 6-7 years that these bikes have been around training riders. So we have a Stasic generation out on the racetrack. A lot of those riders surely were raised on Stasics, and the skills they show are next level. All the things that coaches have been teaching riders on larger motorcycles for decades, they're doing it younger than ever, and it's hard to believe the Stasic generation is already here.
All right, welcome back, everybody. That was your Troy Lee Designs timeout. Get over to troyleedesigns.com. Check out all the latest gear, mountain bike gear. Paint department is cranking. Check those guys out. Stoked to have them on part of the show here. All right, we're picking it back up in 06. MDK Honda. You got Mark Johnson as your manager, and that stands out to me. I remember you guys at the U.S. Open with Mark, and he was the Team Green guy forever, right? Like head of Team Green. So Mark's been around for a long, long time, was always very dialed in. So I kind of, doesn't surprise me that this was a good program for you. Take me through 06.
Yeah, I think it started out pretty decent. I had high expectations from the year before. Obviously, everybody transitioning to the 4-strokes that year was like, that's when it was the standard. It wasn't like anybody was riding the 2-stroke anymore, which was cool because at least everyone was on, similar equipment.
Yeah, it was that transition was a little weird, right? Because the guys that jumped on it early, like Ernie and Nathan, or who was doing the 450 development for Honda? Was it Wyndham?
I think obviously Rhino early, and then Wyndham rode it early.
Nathan jumped up.
Nathan also,
yeah.
Yep.
Those guys did well on it, but it wasn't like automatic. Like Ernie had several events where he stalled, and it was like, it was painful watching him.
Well, and to be fair, if you weren't on a Yamaha 250 or a Honda 450, it was a bit of a crapshoot.
That's very true.
Yeah.
The Cowie Suzuki hybrid monster, that thing blew up left, right, and center.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Ivan and Paul Carpenter, they told me stories of like literally at least 1 or 2 bikes every week they'd blow up. Just crates of bikes getting shipped out.
Which is crazy because we both know that like when a 4-stroke has a problem, it just stops.
Yeah, it's lucky that we didn't hurt somebody bad. But they had their issues. They had bogs. It wasn't like you just jump on it automatically. It's an easy win.
Yeah, exactly. And even if like at this time frame, 05, 06, 07, all of these years were still carbureted 4-stroke. So it was still, the jetting was a big deal.
Yeah. So take me through that season. You got podiums, San Francisco, Orlando, and saw another one in here, Irving, so Texas.
Yep.
And dude, everything. I mean, there's only it's easier to count. I think he only had 3 that weren't in the top 10 all year, dude. Like, what a solid season.
Yeah, that was by far that was my most solid Supercross season for sure. Obviously, with the 3 podiums was cool because I mean, like, the times I was on the podium, it was either me, Carmichael and Stewart, or Carmichael and Stewart, or Chad Reed.
Yeah.
So it was like, like to beat, and then obviously Wyndham strong. Like, there's a lot of really, really, really good riders at the time. So yeah, I was very, very proud of the achievement I was able to get. And obviously I'm on a privateer bike, so it's Pro Circuit did the engine on a Honda 450, and obviously I had a lot of help with the suspension, but it was a private effort. I was getting like contingency money.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And like I made a list of kind of the guys you were racing against, just to really underscore what a podium meant. RC, Stewart, Reedy, Wyndham, Ferry, Villeman, Preston, Burner, Langston, Tedesco. I mean, those are just like the notables. I just clicked on one race, and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, that was like definitely a very competitive field.
3/3. Yeah. You were never out of the top 10. Like, Well, 3 times. 3 times all year you're out of the top 10. That's freaking wild, dude. It's a great year.
Yeah, that was definitely that was for sure my best Supercross season.
Are you did you like the 4-stroke making that switch over indoors outdoors? What was your thoughts on that? Because that 06 to 08 Honda 450 was elite.
Yeah, in 05 I spent a bunch of time on the 05 Honda 450 outdoors. So obviously I had transitioned to it some and then tested the 05 450 in Supercross, but I chose to ride the 250 just for the sake of like I wasn't sure. I didn't know that much about the engine and things like that, so I wasn't sure how much support I could get for that, or like what had been developed. So I was just more confident in the 2-stroke, which was probably a good move at the time. I certainly could have done better probably in the races that I did race in 05 in Supercross on a 4-stroke, but I just did what I thought was the smartest play with the support I had. But yeah, in 06 the thing was phenomenal.
Did you prefer that to the 2-stroke once, like this season, once you got it kind of sorted?
Well, it was always super weird when there's like 4 strokes and 2 strokes. You had to like you had to plan accordingly. Like, you know, if you're on a 2-stroke starting like, okay, I think I can start by this privateer 450 maybe, because it's kind of like you get closed out quickly. So it was definitely nice to have everybody on the similar equipment.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely a strategy. You had to think a little bit about who you were lining up against and that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Anything stand out from that year?
That year, like, you know, so as we were kids, right, you know, they would do the national numbers by however many points you got.
Yeah.
Collectively combined. And that year I was like 4th overall, which was cool because it was, I think, Carmichael, Stewart, Reed, me.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was proud of that.
But you had already had your number locked in.
Yeah. But still, I mean, I was like, you know, I'm an old school guy.
Yeah.
So I was like, that was like one thing I was proud of.
Well, yeah. I mean, you should be. That's crazy. Yeah, like this, dude, look at these numbers, man. Like, really, really good. All right, so did everything stay the same in 07? Same team, same crew?
Well, it changed. Mark Johnson was no longer with the team, and then in 07 they chose to work on their own engines. They had like an MDK speed equipment.
Okay,
so that had its own set of struggles for sure.
Were they forcing you to use it? You couldn't use?
Oh, yeah. If I had any Pro Circuit parts on there, I was fired.
Oh, really?
So we used FMF pipes and all of their stuff. So Little D and everybody down there helped a bunch for sure. They definitely... I was just chasing the same setup as 06. I just couldn't get it the same for sure. But it had a lot of, I think off season race. We had that McGrath Invitational race.
Oh, was that year?
That year. So I was like riding super well because I was confident with the bike as a whole. But then I think like I had something weird happen on an on-off and bike kind of like cut out, and I took a trip to the hospital that night. And then I was just like really nervous of the bike. And then we kind of got it closer because we're just like at that point, you know, aftermarket cams, if you're not Pro Circuit, where do you get them? So we're like developing all of this stuff and the cams are coming apart. These are all just problems. So it definitely like hindered my preparation for the season for sure. But then we got going. I think I started pretty decent. And I remember Phoenix, I think I got the start and Carmichael and Stewart were right in front of me, and I think I those guys were obviously on another level, but I think it was like 6th or 7th lap, and I'm still on their wheel, and then it ended up filming. My teammate crashed, and they red flagged it. But I remember thinking like, wow, I'm getting there. I'm getting to where I need to be.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had already had these struggles because I would have loved to just have the exact bike as 06. I would have loved that, like literally, like just sell it to me.
Right.
I'll bring it.
And you couldn't talk the body. What if I put the FMF exhaust on, but the inside?
They knew where I was. They knew I was tight. And so the Mark Kwame, his work is like an investment banker. So he has an equity group. So at that point, he had bought Motorsport, his investment group, in which I had also purchased some decent amount of shares in, but he wanted to have this, you know, the MDK group wanted to do their own thing. So they wanted to develop it. So, like, they were very and obviously I think Mark Johnson was a bit standoffish with it all, too, because he wanted to continue, but not on the terms that they wanted. So then he was out, and then that made it more sensitive. And then, obviously, my relationship with Mitch made it tough. So, yeah, so that was like this was me learning how to figure it out with something that wasn't Pro Circuit. So I learned a lot about the bike at that point because safety was obviously important to me as well. But the season started pretty good for sure. I think, like I said, I was riding really well. I got I think I led some I hole shot Anaheim, and I think I got third, but I was pretty close to Chad. Actually, I probably should have gotten second, and then Chad got me closer to the end. Then the next weekend in Dallas, I dislocated my thumb in the heat race. And then this comes into our conversation about having kids. And so Nicole was like super pregnant with Ava. And I remember jumping into the sand, and like Jeff DeMent was stopped in front of me, and I hit his bike, and I tore my thumb ligament. It was like pointed the other direction. I remember looking down at it, I'm like, oh, like Langston's foot.
It messes with your head. When
literally,
you
no, I was like, literally, like Langston's foot. And I'm like, it's weird, it doesn't hurt really. And then next thing I thought, because like Ava was due like the next week, and I'm like, well, guess I won't miss that. Right? I'm like riding better than ever.
Yeah.
And then like instantly my thoughts go to like, cool, at least I'll be there to support my family. Just so it's like turn of perspective became difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And then outdoors, because that was like a very tough injury to come back from, because I think like again I had injury clauses that I need to return to racing sooner for, because of like I had to get paid if I only could miss so much time, which I see shout out Dean Wilson getting out there when he's not ready a lot of times. So it's like I'm sensitive of that, like people have that, because it's like you'll be like, why is that dude doing so poorly? I'm like, well, you don't understand the business portion of this.
Yeah, you don't understand how his contract works.
Yeah, so like 07 after that was super difficult. So I got to racing with my thumb injury, which was difficult, which is the same injury Eli and Cooper and those guys.
Did you have surgery to reattach?
Yeah. So that was difficult. Then my bike had locked up multiple times practicing, and I'd crashed at Southwick, and then I crashed again. My bike locked up. Ryan was riding. Villapoto was at my place in Michigan. We were riding, and his dad was helping us with the track and pit boarding and everything. And I jumped down the hill, and my bike just shut off. And so I spent a couple of nights in the hospital because I had like some pretty bad bleeding on my brain.
Ooh.
Because I had just compounded because I had just crashed at Southwick, and that was like Tuesday. So then I was like feeling like super terrible. So I didn't even race again the rest of that year. So then the MDK group was a bit frustrated with the development portion. And then at that point, KTM was like going through their struggles where they had the Alessi brothers were on the factory team. And then I was like, this was 08. So this was like right when the
economy's coming apart.
So then KTM essentially gets the MDK guys to fund their racing. And so I'm on like what would be perceived as the factory portion of the MDK thing. Whereas like I had a 07, 08 contract with MDK, but it didn't specify what kind of bike. I would have loved to continue on the Honda. But then I had to use the KTM, and then at that point I was close with the owner, and I wasn't super on my like invoicing. So they had owed me multiple hundreds of thousands at that point.
Oof.
So I wasn't like really trying to like skip out on getting that money. So I needed to like stick around. Because it was difficult, because at that point there wasn't like a ton, but then Coy Gibbs had offered me a 2-year deal too, but it was just way too much money in between.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and if you leave, it's probably you're not getting it.
100%.
Yeah.
Because I'm breach of contract by leaving. So I ended up like they made it right by me. They ended up actually increasing my salary to ride a KTM, but then I'm like there on pretenses that I'm like not stoked with.
Right.
And so I like did my best to make it work into 08, but it was just difficult.
And that bike in 08 was not great.
It was a no linkage bike.
Right. So it, when you say it's KTM, it's not the modern KTM people think
It's not the KTM
now.
they have now, but essentially at that point, the 250, the 125 and 250 4-stroke were competitive. And mostly because it had like, so much more horsepower than the competitors.
Right.
And then the handling was like obviously not perfect, but it wasn't as big a deal as it is on a 450.
Yeah, less weight, less horsepower, easier to just hang.
And to be fair, like these guys worked their butts off for me. I met a lot of like great people there, like Leighton Rice. He helped me a ton. Ryan Ragland helped me a ton. Rookie helped me a ton. The entire MDK team was crazy helpful.
Yeah,
because they understood that it it wasn't best case scenario, but they also wanted to be a part of a factory team, and they thought that it was like, you know, great for them to be introduced to factory effort at that time because they knew that they were going to keep evolving.
Yeah.
Which fair.
And those are brilliant guys, dude. Leighton's a crazy motor builder.
Yeah.
Rags is like a genius. He's the inventor of Stasic.
Yeah.
These are good people.
Totally.
Was Dudley involved in that?
Nope, not then.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So I was like, you know, I did the very best I could. I mean, I think I got fourth a few times in Supercross even. So I think that was like at that point until Dungey won, that was like the best KTM finish on a big bike ever.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fourth at Spring Creek, sixth at Toronto, sixth at Vegas, sixth at High Point, fourth at Red Bud Track Trail. Yeah.
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 But I mean, like Alessi had done super well the year before on outdoors, so it's like obviously a capable outdoor bike. It was just in Supercross was difficult.
Yeah. Do you feel like if you had been on your 06, you know, Honda,
if I could have just bought everything they had in 06 and rode it in 07 and 08, I'd have been stoked. But again, like, I mean, I had the team around me was good. We had like, you know, brand new semis. We had a lot of staff in which like I had a lot of confidence in.
Yeah.
Jamie Ellis was my mechanic in 08. So there's like a lot of good people around. There's a lot of lifelong friends that I had made. But again, it was like,
that doesn't help you when you're lining up.
Again, and it also like my perspective is like, you know, I'm 27, 28, and I'm like, and I was creeping up. I was getting closer to my goal. And then I'm like way far. Well, I'm like, I took 5 steps back.
Yeah. This was the 10-year point in your career. Most racers do 10 years of professional racing and that's it. They're cooked. Like either just the stress of it or the intensity of the training and the travel and all that. 10 years is like, that's a pretty standard window. You went another like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, I mean, this is
how was your mental state at this point?
Yeah, I mean, essentially this is the bulk of it though. I mean, this is where I like this, because to be fair, from this financial collapse in 08, 09, it was like basically you were on a factory team or you were like putting your life in jeopardy.
Team cut corners. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then at that point, like I learned a lot about the bike and I learned a lot about the business side. So I don't necessarily like say I wasted my time or energy, because I certainly was like, okay, I need to learn more about these bikes because I'm not okay with keep declining each year. And the risks aren't changing. Yeah. But my ability to like reach my goals is. So, you know, I'm like measuring valve springs and I'm.
Oh, really? You were way into the weeds.
Yeah. Like I'm like, to get the KTM to turn better, like we talked about, like those older generations were a little bit susceptible to having weird things happen. Like, you know, we were doing a bunch of stuff to like modify it. And I'd look at Raglan and he'd be like, yeah, it's okay. Or I'd look at Steve Lampson. He's like, yeah, Honda did that to mine in like 94. And I'm like, look at him like, for real? Like, for real? I'm like, this isn't going to kill me? And he'd be like, it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So there's just like a lot of unorthodox moves we did then to like try to make things more compliant. But yeah, I mean, it like really my lack of success was not for lack of effort.
No. And dude, like I said, I have so much respect for you for just like going, I'm moving up. I'm just doing it. You know, like the smart thing would have been to lay up at that St. Louis race and have your options. And I always tell people like, well, yeah, of course I wanted to ride the big class, but I could go make a couple $100,000, $250,000 racing 125s, maybe win some races, probably win some races, maybe win a championship, and then get a good ride. Or I can literally spend everything I have saved to go try to do it on my own on equipment that's not going to be good enough. I'm going to be taking a knife to a gunfight. Like, what would you do? You know, and the haters will still be like, whatever, 125 lifer, you know. And it's just like, well, okay, it's my career. I made the choices I thought were best. But it takes a lot of balls to just go, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, but I think like for me going into the pros, I was like, I knew that I was a good outdoor rider. Like that's where I could hang my hat. I mean, I think your situation would maybe be different if you wholeheartedly were like, I'm an outdoor guy.
I was a better Supercross guy.
So exactly. So at that point, like I go into my pro career as like, I mean, I'm going to like pro-am events like all around the Midwest when I'm like 15, 16, and Mike Brown's showing up to like get this money. Todd DeHoop's showing up to get this money. Like, they're top 10 250 guys.
Yeah.
So I'm like trying not to get murdered by these dudes when I'm 15. So like I had a lot of experience going into pro. So when I'm like showing up and getting 10th at my first moto, I'm like, that's terrible. But I'm like nervous of Brandis. How do I pass this guy? You know what I mean? Because like I was lucky where I grew up.
If you could have showed him a pair of boobs on the sideline,
well,
you'd have went.
I know,
right
but
by.
you see what I'm saying? It's just like I had so much with the conditions where like you're like, oh, the mud. I'm like, bring it.
Yeah, right. No, I know. But
so it's just the perspective. Like,
but I should have been like, hey, I'm a good Supercross guy. Just move up, and roll the dice in Supercross. Like, even if you suck outdoors, or drop back down, ride the 125 outdoors. Right? I could have done that too. But the fact is, you budget it out. It's like hundreds. I'm going to spend $150,000 to do it right and travel around. Maybe not that much. Maybe I could do it for $100,000.
For what are you talking about?
To do a whole season on your own, privateer style.
I don't know what. Just Supercross? That's 17 rounds, buddy.
Well, I mean, no, I'd have to do the whole year.
Exactly. So you're like, it's more than that.
I'm saying on the cheap, dude. It's
I
very,
know.
very expensive.
Yeah,
people are like,
exactly,
just move up. It's like, well,
yeah.
Anyway, so respect, dude.
No, I'm just saying.
And
like,
you made it work. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I had no option.
Well, yeah.
I didn't make regardless, I didn't make it work as well as I could have, but I did make it work.
You were standing on the podium with RC and James.
Yeah, I just would like to have been at a different spot in that podium.
Yeah, we all would.
Yeah,
we all would.
Exactly.
But you did awesome stuff. All right, Seat Concepts hot seat question. We're going into 09. If you guys need a seat, go to Seat Concepts. Snow Bike, they make specific seats for that. Custom soft seats for dual sport riding. Check those guys out. AM/PM team with J Law. This one was a surprise. I didn't have this one on my bingo card.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm guessing you didn't either. Tell me about that year. You're back on a Yamaha though. Was that bike good?
Well, it just wasn't the KTM.
Yeah. So
I was like, obviously, what is this? We talking 09? So
09.
I'm 28, turning 29, and I'm like, well, I've got to figure out something here, because this is coming to an end, and if I'm going to get closer to my goal here, now I have to do something.
Yeah.
So then, all through my MDK time, after Mark Johnson helped me with my contract stuff, he became team manager of the team, which is obviously conflict of interest. So then Scott Sipkovic had approached me with some sponsorship stuff. So he had worked on this Unbound energy drink with the AM/PM, which a friend of ours, John Brada, he headed that up. So he was in charge of like the AM/PM marketing, and then he wanted to branch out into their own product. So then they offered me a sponsorship, which I'm like, yeah, if you can bring me more than I'm going to give you, it's a no-brainer, sweet. Because I had respected him as a marketer. Seemed like he could put people together well. He did a bunch of stuff for Jeremy back in the day, and I know he was pretty active in like just selling sponsorship outside the pits. Which
Scott's single-handedly responsible for bringing Monster and Rockstar to the sport.
Yeah, and there's not in Bud Light, that was his deal. I mean, Sobe, there's tons of stuff that like have been brought out. I mean, there's not a lot of other stuff that's been brought in, to be fair. So then he introduced me to John Brada. We had they actually title sponsored the MDK team in 05 for the summer. And then 06, I had a helmet deal. I think so did Chad.
For AM/PM?
For this Unbound energy?
Or for Unbound. Okay. Yeah, I remember.
Chad had it too.
Yeah.
And so then I had this relationship with John Brada. And then at that point, I think, what was it, 07? I forget what I had. Maybe it was Unbound again. I think it was Unbound again in 07. Then they decided to not market it into 09. And so, but John Brada gave me, like, as part of my AM/PM sponsorship into 09, it was like when Monster and Rockstar both had, because during this time at MDK, I had a lot of interest in Factory Honda, a lot of interest from the JGR group, and a lot of interest from Factory Suzuki. Back, because Rockstar wanted to have me a part of their deal.
Okay.
So then, into 09, John Brada gave me the rights to sell the 5-hour energy sized drinks that Rockstar and Monster were coming out with. Whatever one sponsored me was going to get the rights to at the counter. So now I was headed to Rockstar to like do the deal. And then I was talking to my own agent about how much Monster could give me if I just turned around. And so I landed on Monster. And then that turned into what I thought was going to be Yamaha Troy, which understanding it was going to be like I was going to have to patch it together. But then a lot of that type of stuff came through, and it ended up being like the J-Law Racing, which all through Supercross was like a bit difficult for sure, because there's just a lot happening. It was like, yeah. That's how it ended up there, because I had all my own personal deals, and then through AM, PM, and Monster, it was like enough to make it work. Like it made sense. More than made sense as to where like I invested in the bike heavily as the season went. But that's how that went about.
Okay.
It was also difficult too, because at that point I was pretty like late to commit to them, because I think after 07 Townley may have been injured, or sorry, into 08 into 09 I think Townley was injured, and they were unsure if he could ride at all. But obviously if you're Townley, you always got to be like, there's a chance. So I think in 09 Townley may have not ridden at all.
He didn't.
But then I was talking to Kehoe the whole time about potentially riding for factory Honda in 09.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of interest when I was riding MDK to ride a Honda, and MDK tried leasing a Honda for me a bunch of different ways there, and that's partially their frustration to riding a KTM. That they definitely did right by me, like trying to make that all work. It just didn't work well. So I was hoping to make that work with Kehoe. Didn't work last second. What I thought was Yamaha Troy turned into J-Law Racing. But then, like, obviously, I made enough to make it work, and then I leased stuff once the season got going and it was not going well. I leased engines and stuff from Gibbs. So Coy leased me their package. And so I used that outdoors, which eliminated me having to be worried about them having parts or them servicing the engine, because my mechanic would just send it back. They would send it here. Dean Baker had it sorted, and it was like dialed. But again, not a perfect situation. But again, Scott and his team did their best to put it together. J-Law was just not in a good spot.
No, he was rough by that point.
Yeah.
He's an interesting character, and we've actually done some stuff with him on the media side this year.
Yeah.
And like, he's been great. He's been funny and very insightful, like doing race recaps and stuff for us. And
he's very intelligent.
Very intelligent.
Very intelligent. During that time, I would be like, hey, I know that like this is your deal. I'd sat everyone down. I'm like, hey, Jason, you can't just like, what if I'm like making these requests for $100,000 worth of parts, or like I need the suspension? Like, you kind of have to checks and balance this yourself. Like, they're trying to do what's best for both of us, but you understand that this could get carried away. And he'd be like, fair enough. And then, obviously like that year was difficult for him, because I think he came in with a number 1 plate. So he had a ton of like hype. And then, at that point, as he should be, he's shopping gear deals to the last second. There's like a lot of, obviously, changing of the team. There was a lot of dysfunction within it that obviously I'm sure made him anxious as well, which led to him not performing as well as he could have, which led him to feeling like not great about everything.
Right.
Yeah.
He was on a 250F all year.
So he started the West Coast season on a 250, which he started with a number 1 plate from the year before.
Right.
And then I think he raced quite a bit of 450s on the other coast.
Okay. I thought he did well a couple times. No?
He did, for sure.
Yeah. God, he was talented.
Yep.
Any funny stories there with that though? Like,
no, I was always like the voice of reason a bit, like, and then I was obviously very focused on my own deal, because this year here in 09, like my son Vincent was born in 09, so I'm like, going to High Point, and Nicole's like really pregnant, and I set my bags down at the hotel, and she calls and says her water broke, and I'm like, say what? Because like the first time, with our first kid, with Ava, it was like it drug on. It wasn't like as quick as you would think.
Right.
And then I set my bag down. She calls and says my water broke, and I'm like, what does this mean this time? She's like, I think this is happening quickly. And I'm like, oh geez. So I call the only guy I know who can line me up a private jet, which is Mark Kwame, the MDK guy. I'm like, how much is this costing me to get coast to coast here? He's like, $50,000. And he's like,
really?
He's like, but to be fair, you're going to miss the berth anyways. He's like, just like tell your wife you love her and good luck, because he has like, quite a few kids, and he's like, I don't, you're not going to be able to make it there in time. By the time we get the jet there and it's ready. So like basically.
What race were you at?
High Point. So I set my bags down in Morgantown, in California. Our families are in Michigan.
Oh, so she's got nobody out here?
Teresa Tedesco was there with her. So Vincent ended up being born in July 15th, 09. July 12th, 09 was out with High Point. I think I did pretty decent that day. I think I got 7th or something. That was great. That was a great day for me that year.
Oh, so you did make the berth then? You did get home?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I stayed and raced.
Okay.
On Vincent's birthday.
If you'd gotten the PJ, you still wouldn't have caught it.
Still wouldn't have caught it.
Yeah.
I would have gotten the PJ if I could have.
Yeah.
If I could have been here for it.
You just sucked up the 50 Gs, or you think Kwame would have covered some of it?
He would. I would have paid.
50 Gs. I've been like, babe, I love you, but
I don't know. It's difficult, man.
it's so difficult. No, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was 09. What race do you say? Oh yeah. I went to here. Right here. So it was Steel City?
Mm.
Oh, High Point, 7th. Yeah.
June
okay.
12th, yeah. One of my better ones. Not a great year for me, but this is one of my better ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It motivated you.
I was like, I got to do something.
Do something. Got to have a reason to not be home for this. Okay, so that year ends. What then? You went to Cowie the next year.
So then that next year, I'm like, obviously over the years I'd done a lot of training with Villapoto and been close with him. And I think 09 was his first year of Cowie 450 on the 450 team. And so then he obviously needed to do a lot of work going into 10. And I knew that he would like be super stoked to have me with him at the track riding. So at that point, I'm like, I got to learn a lot about the bike so I can have a safe bike. And I also understood that I could probably get what I needed from Mitch and feel good about it, confidence-wise. So that's what I did. I bought suspension from Mitch, and Bones helped me a bunch. And Cowie helped me a lot.
They let you go to the test track.
I can test all the test tracks. I was with Ryan all the time. Rode a bunch with him and Jake.
Was RL still training you guys at the time?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm
so
not
next year, the year after.
RL was training Weimer and me. I'm not sure if he was helping Villapoto anymore. I don't think so.
Okay. I remember one of those. Maybe it was. I didn't know if it was 2010 or 2011, but he went to Arden or Alden.
Yep.
And
but so then that year, the Ty Lube, Joe Murphy and Alan Brown transported the bikes, in which like they provided me a lot of stuff, but they provided like the transport and the mechanic, which at that point I had my really good friend Big Nasty, who was my practice mechanic from Michigan for years, was my race mechanic. And then I rode a privateer Cowie.
Was this the Mandingo Pickles era?
That's the Mandingo Pickles guy.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Big Nasty.
Yeah, that's right.
And then I think I rode our bike until I think I rode, which Chad Reed would have hurt himself at Phoenix, and then I rode, I think, the factory Cowie starting in San Francisco.
Okay.
And then I think I was assuming that was just basically a race-by-race thing. And I think that's what they were thinking too. And so was the Ty Lube guys were fine with bringing the bike to the race and on display. That the sponsors were fine with.
Yeah.
And then I think I had like logos on my stuff, so they were cool with it all. Yeah. So then that worked out pretty decent. I think I went back to I rode my own bike out of the Ty Lube truck with a factory engine in it, and my brother was my mechanic because Big Nasty couldn't make it to the race in Canada that weekend, and I think I got fourth. Definitely I got fourth at St. Louis and maybe at Toronto too. So I had some good races.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But I mean, I'm 30 then, so I'm thinking in my mind I'm already like I should be done racing.
Really? Okay. So
well, because at that point, like you don't go that long, right? So I'm
30. You're done.
I'm not racing anymore if I don't have a bike I'm confident in. So then I got Cowies and knew that I could be prepared and felt like I could ride well. But am I gonna keep trending to where I should be? No, but I like doing this.
Yeah.
And then learned a bunch from the Cowie guys and from Mitch during that year and about the bike and all that type of stuff. So had some decent results and then had that fill-in spot like I said, got some top 5s, which was, I felt like that's respectable enough to keep
yeah.
going.
Yeah. If you're getting top 5s,
Yeah.
you don't throw in the towel if you're still enjoying it.
Yeah, and I'm like, at that point, I think at that point I had, still had some help from Monster through the AM/PM thing and my own personal deals with the MSR. So I'm still making like a good living.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So same deal next year?
And then the following year, Rockstar made me a good offer, and they sponsored the Valley team. So I got paid some from Valley, some from Rockstar, and I rode the Valley Yamaha team because in 2010, Ivan did really well in the Yamaha.
Okay.
And so they had all of that same stuff and pro circuit suspension, and then I rode Valley Yamaha, and the bike was really good in Supercross. To be fair, it was like because again, I'm like filling in, and then I'm like nervous of my friend if he's good in his truck, and then like it's the Joe Murphy and Alan Brown are like really putting in a lot of effort to make it work, but they're not really getting paid much or if anything. So I'm like, I should move on if I can, as long as the team is trustworthy. And then 11, I made like a decent living with all of the sponsors I had, and I don't know. I don't know what my best finish was, but I did pretty well in Supercross.
Yeah,
not terrible.
Get a 6th here,
Yeah.
8th, 9th.
Yeah, outdoors was terrible on that bike, but
yeah, the thing is a little twitchy, huh?
for me.
That was a very political answer. Okay, what was the next year? What was 12?
Then I got then 12. I did like basically the same thing as I did in 10 with the Ty Lube and Alan Brown.
Okay, Cowie.
Yeah. So did the exact same thing, but then at that point I was locked into riding there because I got Rockstar sponsorship. So I was head to toe, like I had branded gear, branded helmet. And so like when so really to be fair, like my longevity was because I could make a living. Obviously I could still finish in the top 10 consistently and be close to the top 5 occasionally. And to be fair, like I still like the lifestyle. Like I like the training portion.
Yeah.
And then obviously like evolving and learning the bike. At this point I was past the time in which like I'm like, okay, yeah, I can get back to where I wanted to be, like close to the front. I knew that was going to be difficult or impossible, but I don't know. I mean,
You're still making money.
Yeah,
You're still enjoying it.
And I was doing like well. And obviously like I really liked working with the brands. I liked the bike development. It was still like, this was like a hectic time for me a bit because in 12, I had some obligations for motorsport.com to race outdoors. And then I broke my back and like I just almost missed Donovan's birth. And I'm like, what am I doing here?
How'd you break your back? Was that at Millville?
Yeah, I guess, I had to race a couple of outdoor races because Motorsport was a big sponsor of the team and myself. And they sponsored the outdoor series. And so I raced a couple of them. I think Red Button was going to be Millville. That was my 2 favorite tracks essentially. And so I was going through the sand whoops on like the second lap, and
Of practice?
No, of the first moto.
Okay.
And I don't know, I must have hit a kicker or a soft spot, and it just threw me over the bars. And I just remember laying beside the track, and I like couldn't move my leg. I just thought like I broke the top of my femur or something, but I like couldn't get up.
Did you get knocked out?
No.
Okay.
But then I ended up by like, I must have flipped and landed knees first, because I guess it's the most common way to break, like to dislocate your hip is hit your knees on the dash of a car or something like that.
Okay.
And so then when my hip came out, it broke L1 through 3. So then at that point, I'm like, I get a hospital ride. Big Nasty's with me. I can't really like get strapped on, because if my leg's like straight, it feels like someone's pulling it with a tank, right? So then get that hip put back in once I get
I've heard that dislocated hips are like crazy
painful.
Yeah.
But luckily, because I needed so much medical attention, I'm going to the Mayo Clinic, which is the next city. So then I get there, and the next thing they had to put me out to get my hip in, and then I wake up and I'm like, sweet, like my legs aim in the right direction, because it was like
no more Langston's foot.
Yeah. No more Langston's foot. And so I'm like, cool, can I go? Because the weekend before, Nicole's like, I'm having contractions at Red Bud, and I'm like, well, I should probably come home. Like, she's like, it's not serious this time. I'm like, are you sure? So this was the week before. Then I crash and do this to my back, and I'm like, am I serious right now? Dude, I got a dirt bike problem.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got to get out of here. I'm like, tell the lady, I'm like, sweet, my leg's straight. Can I go home now? And she's like, dude, you're going directly into another surgery. You broke your back. So I had like L1 through 3 fused.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So it was the actual vertebrae. It
Yeah.
wasn't the process or anything. Okay. Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't even know what happened.
Yeah.
I remember roughly hearing about it, but I don't know.
Yeah, so that was like a rough go, dude. Oh. Yeah, so I guess like, and my parents obviously they live in Michigan, so they came and stayed there, like in a hotel near me, because I was there for like a week.
Okay. So did you miss?
Because it was like super close. No, I get home, my dad flies home with me, and then like the next day, Donovan was born. I'm like, at the hospital, like,
Can't pick him up or anything, probably, huh?
well, I was like, okay, that way. Just I couldn't really like get up to.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a hospital bed in our spare bedroom in the downstairs. I was like, it was bad.
Was that a turning point for you where you're kind of like, I need to wrap this up?
That's what I thought. But then I had another contract. I had a couple deals where I had like a couple. I had that next year was like multiple hundreds of thousands, and I'm like, I'm not gonna get that money unless like I figure out how to race somehow. Like, listen, like. So then that's when I bought when I was recovering from that, I bought the MDK truck from Mark, and bought my own Cowie stuff and raced a couple more years.
Okay.
Because I was kind of like.
Was that when you were doing like the answer thing? You'd go ride with people or something?
Well, that was after I raced. But
that was
during those last couple of years, like I did some stuff with Feld as to where I would do the beginning of opening ceremonies with the mic on my helmet.
Okay.
And some creative stuff like that.
It's interesting how fast it's kind of like a woman who gets pregnant. Like pregnancy's gnarly, right? You delivering it's a lot of pain. But then like a few months later, you kind of forget. It's like we get hurt, we could break your back, you could snap your leg, and you'd be like, dude, I'm done. I can't tell you how many times I was like, I'm done with this. Like, this is stupid. What am I doing? And then like about 3-4 months later, you're feeling better. You're like, I could go ride, throw some sweet roost. Should do this.
Yeah.
Like you just forget and then you're back in.
This list of all these races, like when I talk about it out loud, I'm just like, what am I thinking?
Well,
I remember on the couch, because I was like sat on the couch, and Stanton had to have been out here for something. So him and Nicole were on the couch, and it was like almost like an intervention. I'm like, man, you know that I could just race a few outdoors, and that's basically going to be my contractual obligation. Then I could be ready for Supercross 14. That gives me like 16 months. What are you guys worried about? I'll show up then, no problem.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
We got problems, all of us.
Yeah.
A little bit of a,
Maybe I got more than I got more than most.
You think so?
After talking this through, yeah.
After going through.
Yeah.
So from this point on, was it like your results were all kind of just?
Well, so I was like, at this point, I was thinking that I was going to race, and then I was going to have a Kawasaki rider ride with me that wasn't quite good enough to be on Mitch's team, but someone who rode Team Green.
Okay.
So I got a sponsor that would cover, because I was gonna help Colt Nichols.
Okay.
Because I had met him, and he's a super nice kid, and I'm like, this would be fulfilling. This would be nice to help him. This would be a nice way for me to transition out of this.
Yeah.
And so I got like bikes and parts, suspension at Pro Circuit, all of this type of stuff like lined up for him. And then he ended up getting an offer from a team that would pay him, and I was like, you should probably do that. Like, if we can't like with collectively we can't pay you. You're not going to be coming out of pocket. We'll get you what you need, but you should do that other deal. So he did, but I was like had intentions of doing in that route.
Okay. And so that fizzled, so you just went on your own?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then 14 was like, I was still, after breaking my back, I was like probably had no business being out there, to be fair.
Still pain or
I just like lack of strength. It's just like the G outs and the 450, dude, you got to be strong. Mm-hmm. And I raced some outdoors in 13 and then Supercross in 14. And to be fair, like I got some good starts, and I would like ride top 5 for like, I don't know, 7-8 laps. And then I just wasn't strong enough. But then I'm like, yeah, and then, because at that point, when I'd already bought the truck, I was like committed to doing like 14, 15. Because I had already had like multiple year contracts for stuff.
Okay. And
so then 15 went pretty well. Not terrible. I'm sure I got like some top 10s and whatever, but it was fun because like my friend Big Nasty, he would drive the truck and work on the bike, and it was fun.
Yeah. It's hard to, you had some top 10s. It's like you're making money, you're having fun. The thing that's hard to to factor in and is the risk factor. Like, you know, you're probably, your best days are behind you results wise. So is it worth whatever it is you're getting out of it for the risk you're still taking?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And that's the hard part for guys to reconcile, because everyone's got to make that decision on their own. Right.
Yep.
So what was kind of for you, like, all right, I'm done? Like what was the moment?
Well, I mean, I was already past my prime by a lot, so it just didn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you wrote out the 15, right? Because you had multiple year deals, but you still rode in 2016.
Yeah, I did some few races because I had started working with Adam, and then the Tedder family had asked me to help them, and then they had a supercross track at Elsinore they had built.
Okay.
And so I rode a bunch with him,
Okay.
both of them, because I'm like, still like to ride. So then something I think Weimer moved to a different team, and they're like, hey, we would like for you to. I'm like, sweet. I was riding like as if I was gonna race. I mean, I don't know. I just race if I can race. Cool. So I raced a few times with them, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm terrible. This is it.
We're done. Yeah.
And then I raced in 17 just at Redbud because I had like my last national number, and all my whole family came. So that was cool.
Yeah. What was that like?
I just rode.
You weren't worried about results at all.
No.
Yeah.
But like both my boys raced that same night on the night track, and so like Motorsport at that point was still a sponsor of ours. So like we had, so they wanted to put together some content, which was cool. The boys obviously had a good time. And at that point, this is where it became tough for me not to have my sons race, because they're like, I mean, at that point my son raced Loretta's in, I think 18. I raced in 17. You know what I'm saying? So he's 7.
Mm.
So he's like in there.
You quit a few years too late, or you might have skirted him out of.
I don't know.
Did you have a plan for post racing? Did you kind of know what you want to do? I mean, I know you were working with the Tedders and.
No, I didn't really have a plan, but like obviously I really enjoyed like the brand work that I still have I'm very grateful for the opportunity to still do that with Answer and Pro Taper. Like I said, the training and the work off the bike becomes like a lifestyle. It's just kind of like what makes you feel good and what makes you tick. So essentially, like, working with started off with a little bit with Tedder, and then Adam I'd go to the races with him some and work with him and his dad. But to be fair, like obviously I feel like I added a lot of value to the riders that I continue to work with, but ultimately like post racing, man, it like really helped me.
Yeah, I get it. Guys that try to just, I'm done, I'm going to walk away completely. Yeah. It's like you've been on heroin for your whole life, and all of a sudden you're just cold turkey.
It was like exactly what I needed, but maybe like 4 years earlier.
Well,
maybe it's just because it was like, it feels nice to help someone and add like absolute value.
Yeah.
And then it was just like the lifestyle didn't really change because I like doing that. Yeah. Just the racing portion I didn't really need anymore.
You still training with the guys and bike rides?
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, I definitely don't have it set up to where I'm like babysitting them all the time, but yeah, I do a fair bit of work with them.
And that's, I obviously with Elevate, I do a little bit of coaching, and in fact, I worked with Adam for a year when he first moved up to big bikes, and
even like your team manager role with Troy Lee, it's like it's not a lot different.
I rode with those guys.
Yeah.
That was the year I had my moment. Yeah. I almost crashed on an on-off, and I went, what am I doing? I don't get paid to do that anymore. Like, why am I taking all this risk? And then I never rode Supercross again, having at Wyvern Ranch. But yeah, when you can show someone, take something you've learned or something you see in them and just go, hey, try this, and they get it, and they're like, wow, that's so much better. Dude, that's a really good feeling. You know what I mean?
Well, it's also like so profound, our frustration.
Yeah.
Right. So like we like hold that so dear, like, dang, if I could have just done this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're looking at it through a lens of, I've already been through all this. I learned all this the hard way, dude. Yep. I can save you so much time. It's a roadmap, And I wish I had somebody like what Johnny did for Ricky. Man, that was smart of them. You know what I mean?
It's just tricky because there's only.
You don't think you could have got like?
No. I'm just saying, like for you and I, like it just, certain things have to like click to trust someone wholeheartedly like that for like a long period of time. And to be fair, like there's not a lot of people within our sport that can really like articulate the things in which like you can actually make make a difference.
Yeah. I suppose you're right. I just wonder, I got to be friends with Wardy later on. We were teammates at Supermoto, and we've become friends. He was my hero as a kid.
Yep.
And if I would have asked, I didn't even know him that well at the time. I mean, we had just met at Kawasaki functions, but like if I would have asked, hey, I really need someone to help me. Could you help me just riding coaching and just sort of like, maybe come to a couple races, local ones or something? I guarantee you he'd have done it. Like all of these guys now, if someone would ask him, somebody that's got some potential and wants to work hard, hey, I could really use some help, man. Like, could you help me? Like, I think most guys would do it.
Yeah, I'd always would see LaRocco on plane rides, right? Like post-racing. Because I also knew that he didn't necessarily do it the way, like the traditional way of like a ton of cardio.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he didn't. I just was pretty sure he didn't. But again, like he was always like durable. And then like, dude, I mean, those years in his 30s, he was like really good.
Beast mode.
Really good.
When he should have been done.
Because when we look at him and you're like, he's doing nothing that's exceptional. What is he doing? Like that's like, he's just really solid.
Mm.
And he would like make tons of time at the end of the races. And I was like, man, because I would, because he was at that point, I think he was living in Indiana. So we'd be on a lot of the same flights and I would just be like intimidated to ask him, but I sure do wish I would have at that point. Yeah, exactly to your point. Yep.
And maybe this is a little like, nugget to throw out to kids who are turning pro or just pro or aspire to be pro. Like, don't be afraid to ask somebody, because most of these guys who are retired, who've done it at a high level, they got a lot they could help you with. And if you asked them, they probably do it.
Yep. Agreed.
Like I kick myself all the time. And I even had like Mitch Payton, right? He was a good advice, good sounding board. But somebody that you've really looked up to, like a Wardy, like if he said, hey, dude, you need to do more motos, am I going to tell him no?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? He would have held me
even
so accountable.
Like even now, like obviously through my career, Stanton helped me a lot. But at a certain point, like I can't use him as a crutch because I'm like, I don't feel like I can pay him what his time would deserve. So I'm like, I'm trying to not be a nag because he needs to at that point when I was there a lot, he was working with Honda athletes. So it would be like Ezra Lust there, Lamson, Tortelli, and these guys, and I would join the group. And then post that situation, I was like, I'm not going to impose because I respect him and his time. I cannot afford to pay him what he's worth.
Right. That's true. I mean,
so that's how I felt. Not that I didn't want his help. It's just that's just like out of respect. I gotta have some distance. Plus, at that point, like I just was here a lot, and so I wholeheartely agree with you because there's like that group of guys, man, they were gnarly. Yeah. It's also just really, it's a bit different now because obviously at that point I think they were all just trying to out train each other.
But I think there's guys now where you could gain a lot from just technical stuff. Budman, hit up Budman, and
yeah, Vincent goes with Budman. Yep.
And he's great.
Yep.
Like there's a lot to coaching, even if it isn't the training side. Just, hey man, come out once in a while and watch me technically and see if you can pick me apart.
Yep.
I wish I'd have done more of that stuff. But anyway, I'm deaf on a little tangent there. What do you think? You think you'll continue doing the coaching, like working with guys? You got Cameron now.
Who else this next year I got just Cameron. Obviously, I need to like take a step back from like having so many people because my son's going from a super mini to now a 250, and then at this point now he needs to start getting onto some supercross tracks because within the next, I mean, I think there's other kids at 15 that are racing those futures. I don't know if that's what he would do this season, but I need to like start heading towards that.
That scare you at all?
Well, to be fair, he's been riding supercross a fair bit for like years.
Okay.
So
you kind of have to.
And honestly, it's not like that. It doesn't scare me. It's just he is. I mean, he's immersed in this. Like he sees me talking to Adam. He sees me talking to Joe. He sees me working with Cameron, and he's like, he might as well be there.
Mm-hmm.
He like feels this with them, which is like, you know, it's so I try to let him do him and make it his idea. But again, like just passively, he's like, it might as well, whatever's happening to them may be happening to him.
He's all in. I wonder if that'll, do you think that will make him more comfortable around it all, so that when he actually becomes a pro, it's like, yeah, this is where I'm meant to be. I've been here for already.
Well, I wouldn't think so. But then, like, you know, Donovan is 12, and there's stuff like I'll talk to Vincent about, whatever it is, and he'll just be passively listening, obviously. And I don't really realize how passively listening he actually is, which would be the same position Vincent is with the guys I'm coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be things where, like, I'm talking to Vincent about, like, hey, look at Geyser's bike right here. If he's not aware, he's going to crash. But he's aware. But that's where the strength lies. And then all of a sudden, Donovan will send me a DM of Geyser getting sketchy. I didn't even know he was in the room.
You didn't know? Yeah. They're listening, dude.
Well, but it's also
time.
like motocross is not his passion either. But he's like, you know, because to be fair, like I talked about my brother, he was like, he's in there because I cared. So he's like, he's probably one of the most knowledgeable that I know about motocross, supercross that's never even like ridden to an 80.
Your brother?
Yeah.
You guys pretty close? I didn't know you had a brother.
Yeah, super close. Yeah, he just obviously he lives in Michigan, so you don't see him.
Yeah, I get. How much older?
No, he's 4 years younger than me.
Oh, he's younger. Sister's older?
Yep, sister's older.
How old is she?
She's 40. She is 46.
So how many years older? How old are you?
I'm 44.
2 years. Okay. You guys close too, Ollie?
Yep.
Yeah. You gotta miss those guys, huh? Like.
Yeah, we've been trying to spend like more time there, but obviously like post racing, I need to kind of get established with like work stuff, and then obviously the kids, time consuming with soccer practice and this and that.
It's impossible.
And then lately it's like been difficult because Ava it's important for her gymnastics because she's coming to the end of her high school stuff, so she could potentially earn a collegiate support. So we've been like, I'm here, she's there, and then we've been trying really hard to be not all in on Vincent's racing until it's like it needs to be, if it needs to be. But we're at the point now where I have to pay attention.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah.
He looks like he's been going fast on that 250. I haven't seen him yet, but just the clips, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, it goes quick. But I mean, even like we talk about how often we ride laps. So I mean, I'm thankful that Kawasaki loans me a bike each year, and last year I turned it back in, and I think it had like 10 hours on it. And then I got the new bike, and then there's a place in Michigan that's like this just natural terrain, just rough sand track. And Stanton helps a couple kids from Michigan, and he came out there, and I told him about it, and so he brought the kids, and then I brought my bike the second time we went. And so ends up being like this 20-minute moto turns into a 30+2 for Vincent on the Super Mini because I'd already measured the fuel. I know how long it will go.
Okay.
And so we did like 38 minutes or something. And I'm like, I can't stop. I wasn't like planning to do this with them. I just wanted to ride the track because I'd been there a few times. I just never had ridden there. Okay. Stanton's pitboard, and I'm like, I can't quit. I'm like, I'm down and out for a week, dude.
Just back.
Oh, dude, I'm just like so tired. I'm like, what's wrong with me? I'm like, I rode.
Yeah. It's crazy how like it's a full mental exhaustion.
It's so hard. Yeah. And then I went back like the next week, and my dad went with us. And so I had him pitboard, Vince and I, and we did like, I don't know. The track is almost 3 minutes. It's a big track.
Okay. Rough.
When I gave him he gave me a head start, 5 laps, 50 seconds. He caught me.
Really?
I'm like, if I got him anywhere, it's here. He's on a Super Mini. I'm on a 450. 10 seconds a lap. I'm like, I'm terrible.
That's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I haven't ridden since.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah.
I just noticed now, like if I go a while and I don't ride and then I go riding, it fries my brain because you're having to process so many things, right? I get home and I'm just like, oh, I got to take a nap. I'm smoked. All right. So is there anything you want to do in this sport or outside this sport that you haven't?
I don't know. I guess I haven't really thought about that. Obviously, I'm always trying to evolve as a person and just like learn a new skill set. But yeah, I mean,
do you see yourself ever wanting to manage a team or be an agent, or? Cause I could see you doing really any of those things.
Yeah, I mean,
But
there's a lot of things that like I have interest in, there's a lot of things within the sport that I have experience in that I could say I could put my expertise to use. But yeah, I don't know.
It's tough, right? Because then do you want to go back traveling every weekend?
And it's also I'm just trying to do my best to like make smart decisions and like head down a path that's productive, not just a path.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think the sport's in a great spot. I think that the Lawrences especially are doing a great job, like getting us into, like kind of some new spectators, some different people, because they're obviously doing a different approach to like their marketing with the, being a little bit more accessible with their stuff that they're doing at the races, and plus their marketing stuff is like it's unique. It's not just so cookie cutter. So props to them and their Red Bull team. I mean, I think obviously with the Deegans, they're doing a great job promoting the sport as well. And obviously they're, everyone at the Monster, I mean, the sport would have a hard time going without Monster's backing. So certainly everybody's appreciative of them, regardless if you're getting sponsored by them or not.
Yeah. It's interesting, the marketing and in our day, I remember I was supposed to go testing with Mitch, was with Hooker at the time. And the Moto Triple X guys called and said, "Hey, do you want to go film?" And I called those guys and said, "Hey, can I push the testing off? They want to go film with me." And they were like, "Yeah, that's cool. We'll do it another day."
Really? It's ballsy you even brought that up to me.
Yeah, I know. I think now, like, I can't believe I even asked that. But it was very rare to get like photos in magazines or videos, which at the time it didn't exist. Nowadays, right? Like, so my point is, you would move heaven and earth to get exposure somehow back then. Now with social media and everyone has their own YouTube page and their own marketing guy, I can't get access to the Lawrences. Like, it's hard, If I wanted to go film with them, like, forget it. You know what I mean? They want to control their content and their message. They have their own guy. Tom does all their stuff, right? Like, it's very curated, and they control the message that goes out, period. Same with the Deegans, Unless you can get it at the race, that's all you're getting. So it's just very different.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everyone is their own media company.
Yep.
They brought it in-house, and I don't blame them. It's changed the landscape.
Yeah, fair enough. I get it. I mean, and it's certainly like the longevity of my career and the income that I was able to make is all based on me cultivating a brand. And because I got like a lot of support from other sponsors that weren't teams that sometimes, to be fair, a business decision, I chose not to be a factory rider. Because
It gives you a lot more freedom. You had a lot of those relationships because you're a nice dude. You're personable.
Well, I definitely I don't know really what it was, but I definitely put a lot of emphasis on like having a brand and being accessible. I mean, like post racing, because there was like times when I was racing, I'd put so much emphasis into it. And then, to be fair, Dave Casella and the Tucker Group with the MSR brand did like an awesome job promoting me, and so did the AMPM guys. So there's times like where I would be out here, and I'd be in like, I think I went through the Chick-fil-A line in Marietta to get my wife a shake, and I had my bike in the back, and like 2 different times someone jumped ahead and paid for me.
Really?
I'm like, this is weird. So post racing, I've put some emphasis on like not branding myself, because I'm like, this is not how I'm trying to live.
That's interesting.
Because for a while there, like with like, I mean, there was like probably 5 years where like every single magazine, like the MSR guys had me in a 2-pager, or I was lucky enough to partner with some people that really did a good job marketing my brand, which helped me with the longevity. And like I said, gives me some leeway these days to kind of pick and choose what I'm doing for work.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for it all, but it was like, we went through a wave of like, all these energy drinks came in, or like, other sponsors always had to increase to get the exposure. So I think we're headed towards that again, because it's obviously like, the TV coverage, all this coverage, the SMX, like the high level athletes are leaning in on all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to see like Dean Wilson's able to create some longevity with his career and do what he likes to do based on his exposure, which is cool because he's obviously puts a lot of emphasis into it, but it's just cool that it still translates.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're exactly right. It's headed in a good direction. We just need the economy to kind of get going a little bit, which I think will happen. What do you guys do for fun? I feel like you guys are always it's either gymnastics at a race. What do you and Nicole and the family, what do you guys do if you got like nothing to do?
Well, we're a pretty competitive family. We have We pickleball it up.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right.
Our good friends of ours that we know through the school have one at their house. So we go there and hang, or we take it to the other courts down the road. And my wife likes to play pickleball, so.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like as a parent, dude, and with work, it's busy schedule.
Oh, dude. I get it. That's why, I mean, you may not have a lot of free
What do you
days.
do for fun?
Well, it depends on the season. Like I've had the best time teaching my girls how to surf. And so now they can fully just surf. I don't have to push them in or worry about them. So we'll surf in the summer. We snow ski in the winter. And both of those scenarios, why I love it. My wife will ski with us. She doesn't like the ocean, so she doesn't get in. But if we're sitting in the lineup waiting for a wave or we're on the chair, I get them to myself.
Yep.
No phones, no distractions, right? Like we can just talk.
Yep.
And I just look for those kind of moments because, you know, what they say, like by the time your kids graduate high school, you've spent 90% of the time you're going to spend with them their whole life. Bro, that hits hard.
That does make sense. Because, I mean, we haven't gone and done any snow sports because Ava's competition season is always like right after Christmas. And we can't afford, you know, we're in it. Can't afford to be injured. But we've talked about doing that more. But, yeah, there's just, obviously as parents, it's always like, it's nice to hear, like, what else could you do? Because you're right, because, like, my younger son, Donovan, doesn't really ride seriously. But then when he does ride, Vincent's always, like, on him about, like, you can do this, you can do that. I'm like, hey, dude, stop. He doesn't need to be, like, awesome. I just need him to be in the van hanging with us.
Yeah. I just want just quality time.
Yeah.
I mean, I just try to do things where I can actually have some, where they'll engage with me.
Totally.
Because you know how teenage girls are. It's like, I'll go into their room sometime and I'm like, hey guys, what's going on? And they're like, just on their phone or, you know, piss off, Dad, basically is what they're trying to say.
Yep.
So try to catch them when I can. The last question we ask everybody, dude, it's how do you want to be remembered in this sport?
I think like the goal was to never be a quitter and always just like be a stand-up dude. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know. The thing is like we talk about what your goals were as you start racing. I remember going to like the Pontiac Silverdome and as a kid, like looking under my chair as to like, where's the lights? Like when they hit the triples, who turns these lights on? It was the flashes from cameras, right? So for me, like all I ever really wanted to be, well, for one, I wanted to give it my absolute all because like I've always been competitive and I played a bunch of sports through school. But I always just wanted to give it my all, but I wanted to reach the level of pro.
You did it.
Well, but then at that point, like once I had to like reevaluate it all when Mitch is like, bro, you can do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I don't know, man. I think this is it. I mean, I'm going to continue to do my best, but I don't really have any plans past like getting my pro card. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what's like, you know, shoot for the stars, land on the moon type of thing.
Yeah. You did, dude.
Well, it's just the times have changed. Like the perspective of it all, like from when we were kids to when we actually raced pro, it changed more than it has since we're done pro till now. You know what I mean? It evolved then like way more than it has in the last 15 years.
Yeah, you're probably right.
It changed like quickly.
Well, I can tell you what, dude. Like, there isn't anybody that doesn't like you.
There's a few people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't know. You're just like, you're friendly, you're polite, you're professional. You've been just a great ambassador for the sport. And
thanks, Ping.
The way you did it, dude, like it was just ballsy. I just appreciate it. I didn't have the balls to do it, you know, like just pull the trigger and say, I'm moving up.
You could have.
Maybe, but like I didn't have the balls. That's what I'm telling you. I really respect you for doing that and turning that into a factory ride and into these, like, you know, you're on the podium with a couple of the greatest riders ever. Like, that's wild, dude.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So congrats on the results, but just also the person you are.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate hanging with you too, man. I have the utmost respect for you too.
Oh, I appreciate it. Well, dude, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for
I know I've been bugging you for a long time. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm not dodging you.
No, you're just busy. I get it. I'm just like, yeah, no, dude, I get it. We'll do it. Well, thanks again.
Yeah,
It's
cool.
been a lot
Thanks,
of fun.
man. Appreciate you.
Hey, stick around. We're going to be back to wrap up the show. That was Nick Way. Hope you guys enjoyed it. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that show with Nick Way as much as I did. Been buddies with that guy for a long time, and just salt of the earth dude. I think that comes across pretty plainly in his interview. And as I said in the show, just a ton of respect for what he did, being that bold to just say, I'm moving up. I'm just going to go for it and make it happen. And he sure did. So awesome guy, amazing career. And he's still helping riders kind of achieve their goals and passing along the knowledge he has, which is great. So really appreciate him taking the time to come in. I want to thank our sponsors one more time, guys. If you can support these folks, we'll be able to keep bringing you these shows, starting with Yamaha. They are our biggest supporter, incredible company, top to bottom. Support them. And they make great products, so it's easy, right? Everybody on here, we only put premium products into our partnership portfolio here. So that includes Nihilo Concepts if you guys need things for your bike, Troy Lee Designs for gear, Rockwell if you guys are looking for watches, swag, sunglasses. The sunglasses are incredible, and we are working on a really cool goggle. I'm so stoked to show you guys what we've got working here. It's gonna be awesome goggle. SKDA if you need graphics, amazing brand. Stasic, boy, get your kids on one of these. Talk about developing better riders young, man. It's awesome. Dunlop tires, just the standard. Pro Circuit, Seat Concepts, Pro X, amazing partners. Couldn't be more proud to have these folks on here and helping us out. So thanks so much. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. And we've got more shows coming, so stick around. We'll see you at the next one.
Yamaha is the industry leader in two-wheeled fun and performance. Celebrating 50 years of YZ in 2024, the Blue Crew is still dominating shootouts and competitions. Yamaha, revs your heart.
Troy Lee Designs is the leader in off-road motocross apparel and style. So whether you're looking for a cool new paint job for your helmet, maybe your name and number on your helmet lettered on, you're looking for new gear, you're looking for mountain bike gear, off-road gear. They've got the brand new Scout line in GP and SE models. Troy Lee Designs has it all. They've been leading this industry for decades, and they're going to continue to do it. Check out TroyLeeDesigns.com. SKDA is a moto graphics and seat covers company with several offices based around the globe. For too long, bikes and graphics have all looked the same. They just start to blend together. SKDA is working to change that. With super clean and unique design work, a bike with SKDA graphics stands out in a crowd and adds a touch of art to the world of moto. Hey, we need that. SKDA prides itself on providing premium customer service both before and after the sale is made. Visit SKDA online to view the current product range and get in touch with their team to get your bike refreshed. I want to just make a mention here that these guys, not only is their design way outside the box, very, very cool, they'll work with you on custom things. The products are incredible, okay? They'll speak for themselves, but what's really awesome, and you'll notice this the minute you order one of these, man, they give you an email saying, hey, the product's been shipped. Hey, the product is here. It landed in this spot. Hey, it's coming today. Hey, your product's been delivered. They just so good about staying in touch with you and letting you know where it's at. Customer service is 100%, and that's just something that's rare these days. Check out SKDA. Here at the Whiskey Throttle Show, we're all about supporting brands that support our sport. And there's one tire company that has never walked away from the sport of motocross and supercross, and it's Dunlop. When times got tough and the economy took a crash, Dunlop stepped up and stayed with our sport to support it and the athletes and individuals that love it. Their MX-53 line and MX-33 lines absolutely dominate this sport. Every national championship at the pro level has been won in the last decade, and nearly every single amateur national championship at Loretta Lynn's has been won on a Dunlop. So if you're looking for high performance, you're looking for amazing quality, and you're looking to support a brand that never turns its back on our sport, there's only one choice for you, and it's Dunlop. Pro Circuit is the leader in aftermarket performance and quality. Whether you're looking for a little more horsepower out of your engine, some quality hard parts to improve the way your bike feels and looks, better handling through suspension or linkage arms, Pro Circuit is where you need to stop. It's your one-stop shop. You can go in there and get everything you need to make your motorcycle go from average to exceptional. Pro Circuit's got enough number one plates on their wall to side an entire home, and there's a reason for that. They're very, very good at what they do. The highest quality products with one goal in mind, and that's winning. Check out ProCircuit.com. Nihilo Concepts is leading the way in aftermarket hard parts. With their secondary on-switch device, something that was much needed in this sport, they've been innovating and bringing new products to market. Their latest is the new Nihilo Run Cool brake pistons. They're designed to be stronger than stock and provide exceptional cooling performance with less brake drag. Most OEM calipers pistons are made from aluminum that just can't hold up to the heat and extreme demands of serious racing. When they get hot, the aluminum will distort, causing loss of hydraulic pressure and brake failure. Nihilo's Run Cool pistons limit the area that boiling hot hydraulic fluid is able to come in contact with the piston, leaving 2/3 of the piston volume in open air with breather holes to enhance the cooling ability. It's made of a proprietary stainless blend, which is better at dissipating heat. You have issues with brake fade or brake failure, check out Nihilo Concepts among their many amazing hard parts and carbon fiber parts and titanium. NihiloConcepts.com. Seat Concepts is the leader in motorcycle saddles. If you're looking for a new cover or a new seat entirely, Seat Concepts is the place to go. They make custom seat foams catered to your height, weight, riding ability, riding type. They also have waterproof covers and foams that will not break down if you ride in a lot of inclement weather. And they pride themselves on being much more comfortable than OEM or any other aftermarket company. If you're looking for a new seat or a new cover, Seat Concepts, there's nothing better. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than ProX. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, ProX makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the Polaris RZR 800s. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than ProX. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, ProX makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the... If you've got a little Grom that's looking to get started in the motorcycle world, the best way to get them going is on a Stasic bike. They've got multiple sizes, so from your very young Groms to those who are a little more grown up, you can start them safely. They've got controls that allow you to control the speed so he can't get going too quick. They can touch the ground. There's not a lot of noise to distract them. It's the perfect way to get your child involved in motorcycling at a very young age. And if you've got a kid who's already out ripping, there's series popping up all over. For those of you in Southern California, go to www.ameminicross.com and join their local series. If you're outside of this state, contact your local track and ask them about starting a Stasic class at your local track. Get over to Stasic.com and check out all they've got going on. And finally, last but not least, Specialized Bicycles. If you are in the market to start pedaling, this is where you want to start. They've got great entry-level bikes all the way up to the Cadillac, the new Levo e-bike, anything in between, man. It doesn't matter what kind of riding you're doing. Go check out and start with Specialized. Don't waste your time on something that's going to break. The derailler's not going to shift after a couple months. Get something quality. These guys make it. Specialized leads that industry.
Thanks for watching and listening to the Whiskey Throttle Show. Be sure to like and subscribe to get notified when new shows go up. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And visit whiskeythrottlemedia.com for additional content.